Hey, what's up, everyone? Greetings from Oslo, the capital city of Norway. This is the 5th of 8 thrilling stops of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, ushering us into the second half of the 2024 season. I'm Trace Worthington here alongside Joey Zuber, a massive crowd on hand of spectators. We're here at the Oslo Opera House, traditionally home to the Norwegian National Opera and Ballet, but today it's transformed into an arena for Red Bull Cliff Diving. Joey, it is an amazing facility. It's the longest platform in the history of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series at nearly 100 feet. What an epic scene right here.
It is, isn't it? I was just about to use that word epic there. Massive platform. And you can see that platform overhanging mostly concrete, so it's only water until you get to the very end.
The last round of training dives before we get underway. Round 1 took place yesterday. Today, we get to check out round 2 and 3, beginning with the women. And we are hanging out with David O.C. as well. He joins us, and he's to be floating around all day, telling us what's going on the ground. David O.C.
I expect him to be floating around somewhere on some strange craft.
Hopefully,
if he braves the weather.
Hopefully, he won't fall off that platform. Dave, what's going on out there?
How are you guys? Great to see you. So I'm not going to lie, it's been a bit of an eventful day. Last night we had obviously the first round that was really, really windy, and that was the general consensus. However, then coming into today, it's been a bit all over the place. It's been really wet all day, but obviously pushing the event back has paid credit because it is gorgeous right now. The wind has also dropped right off. You can see that enormous and very long platform is there, and we're up here at the top of the Opera House. You can see we've got Kulturi there, just getting in the zone, a few divers floating around, so hopefully we'll get a chance to chat to people. And yeah, it's a good old day out here in Oslo.
Queeve, you're going to make it out to that judges' pontoon again? That's what we expect from you.
We'll see. I don't know about it.
Come on, son. Be brave.
And I expect a big report on that Ferris wheel in the background, right? Yeah. That looks pretty cool. Money, you could jump up on that thing throughout the day. That'd be fun. All right, folks, we are getting set. Red Bull Cliff Diving, 5th of 8 thrilling stops, again, of the 2024 season. And if you're new to Red Bull Cliff Diving and you want to know what it's all about, we've got your back. Here you go.
Each Red Bull Cliff Diving event features 8 permanent and 4 wildcard divers per gender. There are 4 rounds of diving, with varying levels of difficulty. The panel of 5 judges has less than 3 seconds to evaluate the parts of each dive. The judges then award scores from 0 to 10. The highest and lowest scores are eliminated, and the remaining 3 added together. This total, multiplied by the degree of difficulty, gives the dive score. And all 4 dives are added together for the event score. Finally, series points are awarded at every event, with a bonus point for the best dive of the competition. At the end of the series, the divers with the highest series points are awarded the King Kahikili Trophy.
Oh, and there's that Ferris wheel in the background. I believe that is a mobile Ferris wheel. It goes from city to city, but right now it is in the beautiful city of Oslo as we get ready for stop number 5 of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Just a reminder, I'm Trace Worthington, sitting next to Red Bull Cliff Diving expert Joey Zuber. We are stoked for round 2 and 3. We'll start with the women. We're going to the men's second round, then the women's third round, followed by the men's third round. Tomorrow, the finals, round number 4. All 4 rounds count, Joey, and that goes down tomorrow. So
that's right. And so you leave the 4th and final round, and that's where you'll see those very complicated maneuvers. So a lot of somersaults and twists.
Well, as Dave mentioned, it's a nice day in Oslo, Norway. Beautiful weather in Scandinavia, 18 degrees Celsius, the air temperature, 64 Fahrenheit. almost similar water temperature, 19 degrees, 66 degrees Fahrenheit. So pretty chilly, actually, for the divers. Joey, you've been in these types of conditions before. I'm sure you prefer the little warmer water conditions.
I'm a Hawaii kind of guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm from Australia. We go warm weather. That's the way I like to roll. But it definitely makes it difficult diving in those cold conditions. The muscles get really tight. It's very hard to stay nice and loose and limber. So you need those very fluid and loose arms to be able to get those powerful takeoffs, particularly in those optional rounds, those more difficult dives.
We'll keep an eye on the wind, too, throughout the day. Could play a huge effect. But it is the lowest scores from the first round that will run first in the women, so it's reverse order. So Simone Leadhead is usually not in this position. She'll dive first, so she's got some work to do. We have up there Paula Quintero, who had a great last stop. She runs number 4, and a batter. The legendary divers in that mix, too. And then here are the top 6, with Ellie Smart running 7, and then Xantheia, Rhiannan Iflin, not usually in this spot, but hey,
it's only the first round. Yep.
First round, exactly, all 4 count. Elisa Cassetti, the youngster of Italy, runs number 10. Ginni van Katwijk, who hit the podium at the last stop in Northern Ireland. And then, of course, Molly Carlson of Canada is the leader after round number 1, so she will dive last in round number 2. So you see the conditions again, weather, crowd rolling in for today's Friday competition, and of course Saturday expecting thousands more to watch the world's best cliff divers. So Joey, break it down. What's the strategy here in the first round for the ladies? You have to pace yourself a little bit. This is what type of dive are they doing here in the second round?
Yeah, so like you were saying earlier, so we've got 4 rounds of diving in total. So yesterday we just had the required round. When we say required, that means the more simple and graceful maneuvers. Then we've got intermediate round that's coming up here. So that's round 2 today. So that is a step between the easier dives and the more difficult dives. There's Aiden Heslop working his way up to the platform, and he won the previous competition in Ireland. He's had 2 wins this season so far, and he's actually chasing that elusive King Kai Kelly trophy. It's been within his grasp, or close within his grasp a few times, so he desperately wants that this season. You can see that immense platform there, 27 meters high, as we get the final warm-up dives underway before the competition will kick off. So it's very important the athletes will warm up their dives. They usually do 1 or 2 dives before they get into the competition. You just got to shake off a little bit of that rust.
Look at that beautiful shot right there. The Oslo Opera House. So the platform, which stands, again, so tall off of that thing, 27 meters, 90 feet above the water, attached to the Oslo Opera House, home to the Norwegian National Opera and Ballet. And it's the second time ever this building is being used for like a sport competition, Joey. And look at the shot of that platform. How intimidating is that?
And the crazy part is, I mean, the building at the top there is exactly 27 meters, the right height for Red Bull cliff diving. Fantastic shot. You can see how narrow the platform is, and of course that walk to the end, you're overhanging the concrete. You're really only overhanging the water by about 3 to 4 meters, say 10, 12 feet. That's not much at all. It's
I mean,
really
just the walk out. Okay, look at where the water is. So the water isn't until you get to the end of the platform. Now the top platform is the men's platform. The one a little bit lower is the women's platform, which is 21 meters, 70 feet, Joey. But you don't really get out over the water until the last several feet of that platform.
Exactly. And that's pretty spooky, and especially when it's windy. I mean, I actually heard that Paula Quintero yesterday, when it was even more windy than it is today, was crawling to the end of the platform.
No railings on that thing, too. I don't think in the United States that would meet code, so to speak.
Not exactly. But this is cliff diving, folks. Hey? It's not a travelator in the airport, you know what I'm saying?
You know what?
But it is a long platform. I think you need a golf buggy to get from one end to the
other.
other.
I'm going to grab an Uber to the end of the, end of the platform.
Yeah. Hey, can you haul me a cab, thanks? I need to get to the end.
We're going to have some fun. Round 1 took yesterday. That was live on TikTok, so you can review that again if you want. But then today, Joey and I are live with you, along with David O.C., for round 2 and 3 here on Red Bull Cliff Diving's YouTube page. That right there is pretty cool. That formation out there, just floating around, Joey, that very special piece. The sculpture is actually a floating stainless steel and glass work art called She Lies. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit, but it is an amazing backdrop as, again, we look at the Oslo Opera House, opened in 2008. Now, that's scary right there. Just to get down to the women's platform, Joey, explain that.
Exactly. So climbing down from the 27-metre platform onto the 21-metre platform that is 70 feet high. So that's around about the 6th or 7th story of a high-rise building. As a matter of fact, it'd be a great idea to get into that Ferris wheel if you are in Norway. Get up there and have a bit of a look and just kind of get that bird's eye view and see if you can kind of really match that high, that platform, and look down, get a sense of scale. It's got the athletes there, their little kit bag, and you want to really stay as warm as you can for as long as possible before you get to the end of the platform. You want to keep that jacket on, like I was saying before. Keep those shoulders nice and warm and loose. Graphics on the left-hand side of the screen will explain what dive they're doing and what the degree of difficulty tariff is. So fixed DD meaning degree of difficulty, 3.4 fixed for intermediate dives.
So we'll start with Simone. Actually, the safety divers play a huge role, Joey, and we'll talk about that a bunch. And that's one of the biggest common questions that we'll answer. Anybody can weigh into on the YouTube chat page. Joey and I will try to answer the questions along with our crew with Red Bull Cliff Diving on site. So anyway, we could kick it off with Simone Leadhead, the 21-year-old new permanent diver on the series, making her 9th ever appearance, currently ranked number 4 in the World Series points. Nerve-wracking to be first in this competition today.
It is, and that's due to the result that she had in the first round. Has struggled a little bit in this competition yesterday and also in the competition in Ireland. However, she did hit the podium at the first stop this season in Greece. Fantastic result for her. So we really got this story at the moment about the new guard, the new generation of athletes coming up the ranks.
Get all the questions out of the way right now. What's she doing?
She's talking to the birds and telling them to get away. No, she's not talking to the birds. She's talking to the scuba divers, the safety divers.
Yep.
Getting them in the right position.
And here she goes. So Simone Leadhead of Canada, the youngster, doing a great job. We're going to go to Montreal, Canada at the next stop. So the locals will be looking forward to seeing Simone Leadhead along with Molly Carlson at that stop. But great way to kick things off.
Yeah, absolutely. A great little comment about Montreal. So she's a local girl from Montreal and spent a long time training at the Pool Parc Olympique. And she's got a great caliber of diving behind her. So she talked about her strengths and being that she's got a good technical, not even good, I would say a great technical diving background. So still cliff diving is part diving, part cliff diving, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it combines two parts of a sport. So the first part is really based on diving, traditional diving. The last part, you're landing feet first as opposed to head first, like you would see in traditional diving. And of course, that's to do with those crazy heights they're diving from. Once again, 21 meters, 70 feet high. Impressive stuff.
All right, so just a reminder, the high and the lower toss. You look down on the right and left-hand side, the ones that are faded out, those are the ones that are tossed, the high and the low. So 68 in yellow is that particular dive. So you add that together with round number 1. So Leadhead comes in right now, 113.50. That's where she stands after this second round. All 4 rounds count. So every single dive counts as we go to our next diver from the United States, Meili Carpenter, 36 years old. I caught up with her earlier, Joey. She's kind of having a rough year. She's not super psyched about it, but then she's told me she's changing her attitude a little bit and wants to, just have fun and just dive and see where she ends up at the end of the season.
And it can be difficult, like for all athletes, no matter the sport. You can put a lot of pressure on yourself, to perform. So sometimes you can get really fixated on the result, right? You go, I really need to podium again. And sometimes you've got to take a step back.
Dive.
I mean, we talk about this a lot, but you've got to keep it one step at a time, right? One skill at a time. Speaking of skill, inward double somersault. Pike with a half twist.
Oh man, you can hear great entry by Meili Carpenter, Joey, but you can hear that wind, and our microphones are picking that up. So and you've been in this position before, diving in the wind from heights of, again, 27 meters, 90 feet above the water. How freaky is that for you?
The point about the wind, actually, is once you're in the air, it's not too bad. I mean, you don't really notice it. You're in automatic pilot mode. But where it becomes somewhat challenging is particularly when you're standing backwards on those inward rotating dives. So that's an inward rotating dive. moving towards the platform. But when you stand backwards, put your arms above the head. It's very easy to get off balance. The wind can come from behind you and push you. And sometimes you'll see the athletes step forward, put their hands up to the judges, say, yeah, that wind did bother me.
Yeah.
Much better conditions today. Yesterday was absolutely howling. So I'm pretty sure the athletes were feeling a bit relieved about the wind pulling back down again here today.
Now, as Meili comes in with a 57.35 on that particular dive, as she talks to our Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series Sports Director, Orlando Duque, a legend in the sport, always helping everybody as they get out of the water, no matter where you're from, no matter who you are as an athlete. Orlando is always there. He's also there to make sure things are safe and sound with the competition itself. So, what's up, Orlando? Good to see you. And Anna Batter comes up next. I love watching Anna Batter. Such a smooth diver. She's a legend in the sport, 40 years old, and
OG in the house.
OG. No, she's great. And
first medalist in a World Aquatics event. It was called FINA back then. That was in Barcelona as well. So definitely a trailblazer. It's great to have her in the sport. Always smiling, great ambassador for the other athletes as well.
I'm just impressed. She's fluent in French, English, Spanish, and German. That's probably the biggest stat when I look at her.
She's putting us to shame. I mean, I can speak Spanish, but I mean, yeah, it's like, man, how do you fit that in your brain? No, very clever woman indeed.
Here we go. Anna Batter from 21 meters, 70 feet off of the Oslo Opera House.
There's the feet, half on, half off. It's a particular technique for back and inward takeoffs. You don't want your whole foot on the end of the board, just half on, half off.
Oh, great dive so far by the first three women from Simone, Meili, and Anna Batter. In terms of their entries, Joey, you know, you might have something to say about the degree of difficulty and the form, but the common viewer always looking at the entry in the water. Are there big splashes? Are there not? And so far, we're seeing some great dives.
So pretty clean entries. There's one thing to point out. Sometimes you'll see the entry very clean in terms of not having any major splash kicking up. However, what are the judges looking for? They do need to make sure that the dive is vertical, or I should say the athlete should make sure their dive is as vertical as possible. So sometimes you can get through the water nice and clean, but be slightly off that angle. If I say shorter vertical on a particular dive like this, the chest will be leaning forward. You can see the chest will be a little bit forward there, and you can just even that slight little bit of angle, you'll feel that knock underneath the chin a little bit. So still a very good dive, but just slightly shorter vertical. That's diving terminology.
Remember, all 4 rounds count, so she'll keep 3 7.5s, as you see highlighted in white. So this particular dive in yellow, 69.75. Add that with score number 1. Round number 1, 119.15. Don't forget, round 4 tomorrow, 15:30, 3:30 p.m. CEST, live on Red Bull TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Remember to always check out the website Red Bull Cliff Diving for all the latest information. And if there's a little rain or a little wind, sometimes that event can be pushed around a bit, so keep an eye on the website for those changes. But we're stoked about tomorrow, round 4, but right now it's all about round 2 and 3. We are just getting underway with women's round number 2 before we get into the men's round number 2. So Maria Paula Quintero is up next. 4th place at the last stop. Solid, best result she's had in 15 stops, Joey, since 2021.
Yeah, she almost made the podium in Northern Ireland. Back double somersault, double twist, ankle strapped up. Sign of the wear and tear, particularly in this demanding season.
There he goes to drop it in at Maria Paula Quintero, the 24-year-old from Colombia.
See those safety divers really chasing after Maria and all the athletes.
Hey, see Watermax. See Watermax?
Oh, I love a bit of Watermax.
Watermax, he's the camera guy down. He's one of the camera guys. Yeah. That's his shot right there.
Actually, Watermax, he's definitely been put through the ringer a few times in some events. I do remember him in Chile, and we were down in a very remote location, and someone forgot to go and get him, so we had to go back. It was so cold. It was like 11 degrees. The poor guy was blue when we got him back. Sorry about that, Max. I'm sure you've never forgot about that. We do apologise.
Classic.
Anyway.
Oh, over there are the judges right there. Look
the gaming chair.
Whoa.
The gaming chair judges.
So they have gaming chairs.
Their chairs are better than ours.
Little floating barge right there. There are all 5 judges. They do a fantastic job, by the way. Digging the judges. I hope they don't get seasick out there.
I have to talk to the crew about why are they getting better chairs than us. No, that's just not cool.
Fellow Colombian Orlando Duque has mentored Maria Paula Quintero along the way. Orlando checking his Instagram, making sure everything's cool there. And then we have a score coming in for Maria Paula Quintero. The 122.10 is the total score for her after 2 rounds. Just a reminder, 4 rounds in Red Bull cliff diving. 1 took place yesterday, 2 taking place today for both the women and the men. And the final round tomorrow, all 4 count. As we look at Paula Gilbert of Spain, new to the World Series, only her 2nd event ever.
Just front double somersault pike, a half twist.
All right, a little bit of a splash on that, Joey. Maybe now it's time to talk about that, get that out of the way, because when you look at our chat room, people talk a lot about the splashes, why feet first, things like that.
So certainly, I mean, there is a splash, and something related to this particular location. I have heard in the past, the previous events, that the athletes found it a little bit difficult adjusting for the landings. Sometimes the visuals can be a little weird. It depends on the proximity of the dock, for example. The dock is quite close to you, so sometimes they can get a bit put off and not really find the angle. There can be a lot of glare on the water, and that can make it really hard. You can see a lot of glare coming from the sun there and landing a little bit shorter vertical. And that last part of the dive comes up very quick. You have that exponential acceleration curve. So it's very important to anticipate the landing. So sometimes you really need to be nice and sharp at the end, but that comes with experience. And that's why she's here, gaining valuable experience on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World
100%.
Series.
You know, it's hard to get, go from the pool scenarios and the controlled pool arenas, Joe, you've told me about over the years, outdoor pools, indoor pools, but then when you get against the elements of an ocean and the wind and these platforms and narrow platforms and all that stuff, the dynamics change big time.
She was just talking to her coach Ramon there as well. And they've got a great indoor training centre in Madrid. They have a 12-metre and a 15-metre inside there, so they're very fortunate to have that. There's not too many permanent high diving training facilities in the world.
Okay, so here we go. Nelli Chukaniska of Ukraine, only 17, so she's making her debut. This is fun.
It's great, another youngster. Great to see fresh faces.
Second youngest female athlete in the history of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series at 17 years old and making a little noise there. Nice job in her debut on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. You know, she got inspired to actually do this diving by one of Orlando's camps, his Under the Wings camps that he held, and that's how some of these divers get started. From the traditional diving and to try to get into cliff diving. He kind of shows them that transition of how you can go from a springboard diver or a controlled platform diver from 10 meters to cliff diving.
And giving a bit of credit to her coach, Oleksiy. And she had to move out of Ukraine, and they've been training in Croatia. And so,
Antonina Vishanova's brother,
yes,
right?
That's right. So he's been coaching her, and then of course that great opportunity to go to Under My Wings Orlando Duque is fantastic for these athletes because they get to dive from the different heights, gain more experience, and it's a great way for Orlando and the team to look at the athletes, look at their performance, and to give them opportunities like this here today. It's fantastic.
There he is. There's Oleg right there.
Exactly. Speak of the devil.
So Nelli Chukaniska making her debut on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Not bad. Grabbing some good points and of a 107.10. So Quintero leads, by the way, right now. So Maria Paula Quintero, followed by Anna Batter. And then Simone Leadhead in third. And we're looking at Ellie Smart. We've known Ellie for a long time. You can talk really frank with her about things. She's not super stoked about her season compared to last season, but she did have a nice position in Northern Ireland, placing fifth. So
climb back up the ranks.
Climb back up the ranks. Not plenty of time left in the season, Joey, but enough time for her before the last stop in Sydney, Australia in November.
So intermediate dive, once again as a reminder, we're in round 2. We'll have round 2 and round 3 here today.
All right, heavy landing, Joey. I'm using your terminology here. Whenever you see that big splash, working with you for 10 years, that's what you would use. Heavy landing.
Definitely indeed. It looked like she was in a little bit of trouble in the middle of the air. I'll be able to tell in more detail in the replay. And this is all about the takeoff. So the takeoff is so important. You have to get the right amount of rotational speed. Coming to the double twist here, coming out, and right there, she realizes that she's running out of speed, having to bend the legs and really fold into that pike. The reason why that happened was because there was not enough rotation at the beginning of the dive. So that's why it's crucial to do a lot of your lead-up preparation and to get that fine-tuning just right. So a bit disappointing for Eleanor Smart, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. It's a tough sport.
So we're to 7, so answer a couple more questions. People saying, did I miss round 1? Yeah, you didn't see it on TikTok yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
You sure did.
Round 1 was yesterday. Yep. And so today we've got round 2 and 3. Tomorrow, round 4.
There's Mr. Duque once again. Orlando, Red Bull Cliff Diving Sports Director. King Ka-Keeley Trophy winner. One of 5 men ever to win the King Ka-Keeley Trophy. It's great having him as the director. We have Greg Louganis as our director in the past, Nikki Stakovich, all the good guys.
One of the only few people to dive at King Ka-Keeley's leap, including myself, and actually Egil Ormerson, who's judging here today, also actually dove from that infamous cliff.
All right, here's Xantheia now. See, she takes more time on the platform than any other diver, and we'll see if she's changed that today. That's just her preference. Nothing to do with anything but her concentration, but she's going quick this time. She's been on the platform for over a minute sometimes, but this time going quick. Worked out for Panisi, the 25-year-old from Brisbane, Australia.
Go Team Aussie. Yep, that's my hometown, Brisbane, Australia. Mighty fine dive for Xantheia Panisi. So bathes in the chilly 19-degree water here. How much is that in Fahrenheit? I can't do the translation there.
She's been, I did catch up with her. She said she's just really working on her mental game, right? I mean, we know she has the skill set. We know she knows how to dive, but sometimes where you have, sometimes you have to work on your mind more than anything in this sport.
Yeah, visualization is very important. Getting into good pre-dive routines is important as well. Now listen, and it can happen to the best of divers. Tom Daly, the famous diver that you would see in the 10-meter platform diving events. I mean, he's struggled with mental blocks in the past. Simone Biles, of course, famously struggling with that. So that indicates how difficult these acrobatic sports are. It really plays on your mind, and it's not easy, and especially when you're that high up. Once again, 21 meters, 70 feet up. That is demanding on the mind.
Well, the judges liked it, Joey. So 139.20 is the roll-up score after you add her first and second round together. We are in the latter part of the women's second round. The first round took place yesterday. There are 12 women and 12 men. So 2 rounds took place yesterday. 1 for the women, 1 for the men. We're in the middle of, again, the second round of the women. After the women, we will go into the second round of the men. Then the third round of the women, third round of the men. That will be today. Tomorrow, round 4.
Yeah.
Live, 15:30, 3:30 p.m. CEST.
And then, so Ellie Smart has had a problem with carpal tunnel syndrome, so the nerves are under a lot of pressure. So she did turn up to the competition in a boot. She's definitely been in a lot of pain, and at some point may need surgery, but now on the platform, a formidable and an infamous athlete.
She is 7-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion, folks, Rhiannan Ifland. And putting one down in the fjords is Rhiannan Ifland once again. Nailing her dive.
Exquisite diving. A mere ripple left behind, and that's what we expect from Rhiannan Ifland. And when she does miss an entry, it's like, gosh, Molly, gosh, Ree, what happened there?
Yeah. Like if you see a splash sometimes with Ree, you're kind of like, did somebody push her off the platform?
Yeah. What happened
there? But anyway, she's 32 years old. She is the GOAT of Red Bull Cliff Diving.
Now she's doing this dive in the intermediate round. And she would normally do this dive for her optional round, the more difficult rounds. But now she's learned a new dive. So in round 3, after we have the men, so the next after the women of this round will be the men, and then we'll be back to the women. She'll be busting out a running takeoff. That's pretty impressive and great scores.
Launch at 9. So drop 1-9. Drop that 8.5 far to the right there by Antonio Martinez. But she'll keep the rest 9s. You multiply that by the degree of difficulty of 3.4. You roll it up to a 91.80. Added together with the first round, 147.70. Rhiannan Iflin way out into the lead here in the women's round 2. Now Rhiannan was 9 to go of 12, so we have 3 divers left. Elisa Cassetti, Ginni van Kotvik, and then Molly Carlson to round things off. Iflin leads, Panizzi, her fellow countrymate, in second, and Quintero right now in third.
And a reminder to all the viewers out there, so the judges, what are they looking for? They're looking at the execution, right? They're not judging how difficult the dive is or how difficult the trick is.
In this round, right?
In this round or any of the rounds.
Okay.
So then you add the scores together and multiply it by the degree of difficulty. 3.4, it's fixed at 3.4.
Elisa Cassetti, the Italian who just turned 22, puts one down. 4th at the first stop in Greece. She's really made a great impact on the series this season and earning a ton of experience.
That she has. Very stylish divers, and each nation tends to have their own kind of unique style. And definitely the Italians have gone with that trampolining Barani style at the end of the dive. I did notice in this dive she did get a little bit too far away from the platform.
Okay.
What are the consequences of that? That means that sometimes it can get more difficult to control the bottom. In addition, the judges will be looking at the proximity to the platform. It shouldn't be too far away and it shouldn't be too close. You can see that over-rotation. I believe that stemmed from her leaning too far back on the takeoff and caused a bit of that over-rotation. So once again, highlighting the fact how important it is to get the takeoff just right.
Yeah, you got to get that good pop, huh? It's kind of like when you watch high bar in gymnastics, which we're seeing a lot of lately.
Yeah.
And the high bar, like leaving the high bar a little bit too early and not maximizing the amplitude or the height, right?
Exactly. If you get too much of that trajectory forwards, of course, you're not going to make that height. So you need to be nice and steep to get over that bar. The same principle here. As a matter of fact, that's what we do when we coach diving. We put like a broomstick in front of them on the pool side and teach them to dive over the broomstick, and that teaches them to keep the proximity in towards the platform. That's a very good way to do that with coaching. Instead of trying to teach it to them technically, you use tools to help the athletes understand how to get the distance right from the platform.
The women's platform, 21 meters, 70 feet. It's projected out and attached to the Oslo Opera House, home to the Norwegian National Opera and Ballet, a spectacular setting opened in 2008. The main auditorium seats 1,364 people, but outside of it, thousands here to watch the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Winding down women's round 2 before we get into men's round 2. Ginni van Kotvik, who had the best result of her World Series career at the last stop in Northern Ireland, placing second. So putting one down. Joey, what do you think of this?
Well, it's actually super interesting what she chose to do. The degree of difficulty is fixed at 3.4, sorry, and she's actually done a dive that's worth 3.8.
Oh, so she's doing a more difficult dive in this round. Where does that lead her for the future rounds?
Well, anyway, but basically what I'm trying to say is that although the dive is worth 3.8, it's capped at 3.4. So it's quite interesting that she chose to do that dive. However, she just feels more comfortable doing
so she doesn't get credit for the other 0.4.
Exactly. So if you do 3.8, you only get 3.4, but if you do like 3.0, you only get 3.0. So it's capped at
comfortable with it. She must be comfortable with that then.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes you'll see that Gary would do that with his intermediate dives. He'd do a front quad somersault. He doesn't need to, but he just feels like he can get a better entry with that. So sometimes being a little bit more action-packed, it can work for you.
Hey, maybe wins over the judges a little bit more too, just seeing that little extra degree of difficulty, a little extra spice.
Well, no, they're judging the execution, Trace.
Wow.
Got to listen.
Hey, it is.
Got to pay attention.
It is subjective. You never know. Maybe they like the degree of difficulty. All right. Even though if it doesn't count, you get my point.
I got you.
Molly
I got you. Just having a dig. You know, I'm correcting you politely.
Molly Carlson, just chatting with her mother. She is watching and in our chat room. Looking forward to seeing Molly Carlson. She's the top seed, by the way, after the first round. She had the highest score after round number 1. But again, it takes all 4 rounds and to count and get on top of that podium.
I think we need to make a little cocktail lounge in Montreal for, for all the mothers and all the parents that are watching their athletes. Got to keep them nice and kind of nice and loose, not nervous.
The exterior surface of that building covered with Italian marble, white granite, kind of makes it appear like it rises from the water. Spectators loving this. Molly Carlson, the whole Brave gang watching. Here we go. Watch out for that bird.
Definitely. I've seen people hit birds before. It's not fun.
Molly Carlson, wow, showing you why she's the top seed coming into this round. It's Molly Carlson, who's sitting number 2 in World Series points behind Rhiannan. It's so hard to get ahead of Rhiannan, and Molly just tries, time and time and time again. She won the first stop. Looking good here in Oslo, though.
Very talented athlete. Immaculate takeoff and form in the air. Beautiful entry. Looking super stylish. Loving the pink Crocs there as she comes out. The arms reaching up. So she does a 1.5 twist at the beginning. The arms come out wide to stop the twist. She's such a graceful diver. And as of course, grace and aesthetic beauty is very important in this sport. Got to look elegant, nice and neat and tidy, legs together, toes pointed, very clean entry.
Dude, I was watching her on a post she had on Instagram yesterday.
Yeah.
And she was showing everybody that walk down the ladder to the women's platform. But she was wearing those pink Crocs, dude. And I was like, wait, of course it's difficult to walk down a ladder like this slick water ladder when you're Crocs down to the bottom.
I know. But actually, well, the athletes do need their Crocs in their shoes because when they get out of the water,
of course I was thinking maybe, a different footwear choice to go down.
I would have dropped them down and walked out. I like the bare feet thing.
Well, Carlson falls short of pulling into the top spot in the lead after round number 2 as Rhiannan holds it down. Great dive, puts her in at 147, followed by Carlson 141. Panizzi with a 139 is in 3rd, saves Quintero in 4th. So it is not over. Women's round 2, and all 4 rounds count. There's a lot of room left for movement. We will see the women's round 3 shortly. The men's round 2 coming up. And you see Eleanor Smart, Ellie rounding out the top 12 after women's round number 2.
Now, it's kind of interesting, actually. You notice that Rhi was back in 4th after round 1 and then, one more round and then boom, back up there into 2nd position. So now, keep an eye on this. You'll actually start to see the leaderboard change up quite a lot, especially when you get into the more difficult rounds. Things start chopping and changing. There's a lot of risk involved doing these really difficult dives. So risk versus reward. The more difficult the dives, yes, it may pay dividends if you get good scores, but if it doesn't work out, you're going to be back in the ranks. But that's the game that you have to play. Got to roll the dice to be in it, to win it.
Man, coming up in just a few minutes, Carlos Jimenez, strong diver, getting ready to go, staying warm.
I was just watching him in Kulturi in Area 47, taking a little bit of icy glacier water dip, a bit of an ice bath, and I dare say that Carlos Jimenez didn't survive very well in the cold water. He's definitely a warm-blooded Canary Island animal. He was there with Catlin Predator.
All right, let's check in with David O.C. He's hanging out with Molly Carlson. Dave, take it away.
I am indeed. Molly, night and day today. Talk us through, I suppose, to begin with, yesterday's weather versus today.
The weather plays a big role in Red Bull cliff diving. There could be wind, rain, perfect sunshine, and what they like to do is try to pick the best time in the day to do the best dives possible. When they want to make us feel good too, so I think they picked the perfect time today. It might be 7 p.m., but we're doing some pretty good dives in the sunshine.
All right, so you came into this round top seed. You're 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, coming out of it, but you have a high DD in the next round. Do you think that's going to hopefully work in your favour?
Yeah, for me, I really want to do 4 solid dives. I haven't done that yet all season, so for me, I'm 2 out of 2, and I would love to put down 1 more dive today.
And very often we get a chance to catch up maybe after an event, and we're always reminiscing, but at this moment, what's your kind of mind frame at? What are you kind of thinking? Is it really, really competitive, or are you as bubbly as you are on the outside? side?
You know, it's weird because on day 2 of competition, we have 2 dives versus every other one is 1 dive. So today you're like, right now I'm on cloud 9 because I survived my back twister, but I'm like, oh my God, I have to do front quad. So, you know, it's kind of getting back into the zone, putting on the headphones, getting warm, getting cozy, and then walking up in my pink sweatsuit, feeling good and throwing 4 flips. So I think it's really a balance of, okay, don't get too excited, there's 1 more to go.
All right, amazing, Molly. We look forward to watching. Enjoy the walk up with the fans to the top of the Opera House. Guys, I'm not even going to show you, but there is an ice bath here, and no, I'm not getting in it this time round. But yeah, that is Molly, an absolute legend as always.
All right, thanks, Dave. Keep us posted on what else is going on down there, and I'm glad Molly pointed out that she's going to have her pink sweatsuit on.
Yes.
You know,
exactly.
that's super important.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to do that. You know, got to keep the traditions, all that kind of thing. But it's interesting her talking about the mindset and how she needs to get back in the zone. It's very important to do that. You have to shift between different mind states. And I'll get into that in more detail, actually, after we talk about the start list.
Here's the start list for men's round 2. Archie Biggin, the youngster, will kick it off, his second ever Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. The veteran David Colterio will run second. You see Andrea Barnaba, from Italy, diving number 6. Some great divers in there. Constantin Popovic, the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champ from 2023, dives number 4. You know, anything can happen. We saw climb back up the leaderboard. So,
and that's the point, actually. Like, often you see Aiden and Constantin Popovic, they actually don't do that well in round 1.
I know.
Sometimes you see him back like an 8th, and all of a sudden, whoop, straight back up the top again.
The Mexican gents are doing great, too.
Yeah.
Again, you have Martinez, the youngster, along with Jonathan Paredes, the 2007 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion. James Lichtenstein, he will dive second to last. He is our World Series leader here in 2024. And then Aiden Heslop will cap things off for men's round number 2. So, again, if you just joined us, bringing you back up to speed, Trace Worthington sitting next to Red Bull cliff diving expert Joey Zuber. Thanks for joining us live from Oslo, Norway. Round 1 for the men and the women took place yesterday. Round 2 and 3 are today. The first of 2 rounds for the women have already concluded. Now we are going into men's round 2, then followed by women's and men's round number 3. Now, the judges have now moved away from their earlier spot, the gaming chairs on that little floaty spot. What do you?
They've been demoted.
What's going on?
They're not listening to us.
I think somebody was like, you know what? I need to get to the shore. This little wavy spot is just
Well, there is a reason, but actually it's to do with the sun. You can see that massive sun glare.
Oh, okay.
So as the sun starts to shift and turn around, they're actually starting to look into the sun. It's very difficult to see the dive, so they've come back on the other side.
I just thought maybe somebody was heading to the restroom. I was going a different direction, but I get what you're doing.
I'm digging the backpack throwing here. We've got Egil Ormesen, good friend of mine.
I mean, look at the form on this, you guys. We talk about Red Bull, the form of cliff diving. The form of the bag toss from the judges, very solid. No mistakes so far.
I think they've done some rugby training. You know, that kind of back pass kind of thing. It's pretty good.
I would say maybe a 9.6 on the
especially
bag toss.
Egil Ormesen. He's an Icelandic boy. You know, he's made of some rough stuff.
They're like, which one of you have played rugby before? Okay, you are throwing the backpacks.
That's right.
Up the concrete wall. But a beautiful day, you guys, here in Oslo, Norway, capital city of Norway, known for its Viking and nautical history, the museums, impeccable seafood. 1/3 of the country is in the Arctic Circle today. The sun is out shining, 64 degrees Celsius. The water temp, 66 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees Celsius. 64 Fahrenheit is the air. Water, 18, and 66 Fahrenheit. Archie Biggin, what about this guy?
Archie Busboy.
Archie Busboy. Oh, yeah, Archie missed the bus. I like that.
Yeah, Archie Busboy. I mean, he misses the bus and, you know, almost missed the competition on his first ever Red Bull cliff diving event. And that's it, Archie. We will never, ever let this go.
Joey just gave him a nickname for the rest of his Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series career. "16 years old, Biggin dropping in. Nice job, a little bit of a splash, but at 16 years old, the Brit making his second appearance ever on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. He caught the bus easily this morning. Perhaps the hotel was maybe a bit closer by, but what an experience for this youngster. And a reminder, Joey, moving into the men's, 27 meters, 90 feet above the water.
And he just came off, I wouldn't say just came off, but in 2022 he got second in the junior international high diving competition where they're just diving from 12 meters. But he did spend a lot of time at Area 47 in Austria, done a bit of training with David Kulturi and Rhiannan as well. But he had his eyes set on cliff diving for a long time. Much like Aiden Heslop, there must be something in the English blood. The young boys, they love their cliff diving, but it's great to see when they really have their mindset on something from a young age and then following through. And here he is on the world stage. So cool, man.
Super cool. Good for him. Inspired by Aiden Heslop. When Aiden Heslop had a camp a while ago, he was only 7 years old when he got into the sport. So we look at a beautiful shot here of Oslo, Norway. As a reminder, this is the 5th of 8 stops of the 2024 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Round 1 took place yesterday for the men and the women. That was on TikTok. And then today, round 2 and 3. Tomorrow, we will get into the last and final round. David Kulturi of the United States.
So pay attention to the graphics on the screen. So you can see that it's inward up the top. Going down, you'll see the position, tuck. And then you'll see the number of somersaults, 3. Well, not tuck, actually, I should say. So it's inward 3 somersaults, pike.
Kulturi in great shape. Dave Kulturi. Oh, there you go, Dave.
Nice one, Dave.
Sweet, my man. Needs a big score.
Slicing and dicing.
When you're second coming out of the gates in the second round, that means you had a low score in the first round. So Kulturi needs this.
He's in great physical shape, like you said, and the conditioning and the strength and conditioning that is required in cliff diving is definitely very important. Dave works very hard. A big issue a lot of the athletes have is actually the legs want to pull apart as soon as they hit the water. So the adductor or the groin muscles quite often tear. And actually in David Kulturi's case, even his shoulder got injured. He had his arms out. Massive scores.
Whoa, look at that.
David Kulturi, 9.5 and 9.
Whoa, so he'll keep 3 9s because he'll drop 1 9 and 1 9.5, all right?
There we go.
The remaining 3 multiplied by his degree of difficulty of 3.6. So 20 on that one, 97.20. So then you add that together with round number 1, 140.60. So Dave Kulturi doing a great job making a charge here in round number 2. Let's get back to some of the basics for those who just joined us, the safety divers and all that, making sure things are safe down below the platform. Again, the men's 27 meters, 90 feet above the water. Joey, everybody asks why feet first.
Because it hurts going head first. That's why, folks. It hurts like hell. You've got to go feet first. It's way too much for the body to withstand that head first impact. You would definitely run the risk of damaging your wrists. And I have actually seen someone go head first before and break their wrist. So that will answer the reason why you go feet first. If you're wondering how deep they go when they hit the water, so that's about 4 to 5 meters. So the depth requirement is 5 meters. We're all set to go with Carlos Jimeno.
Yeah. And that's what this is, about 5 meters, 16 feet, Joey. So it's right on the, right on the verge, yeah. Carlos Jimeno, love watching him dive. Great season last year, wild card diver who earned a permanent diver spot this season. And all these guys are friends. Great camaraderie.
I just love the all-American woo from David Kulturi.
You bet.
You know, he's got some college in him, let me tell you. He's a Purdue boy. But Carlos Jimeno, David Kulturi, Kathleen Preda, and Oleksiy Prigorov have all been training in Area 47, where they have a high diving facility. Also, the water there is very cold, so that was good training coming into this stop. And it was kind of interesting, a lot of the athletes are saying, yes, it's cold here, but after the previous tour stop in Northern Ireland, they're saying, oh, this is a walk in the park. So the previous tour stop was super cold. 12-degree water, very chilly outside. That was definitely one of the most challenging events we've seen in a long time. Great scores for Jimeno.
Jimeno, but not enough to take over Kulturi. But again, there's 4 rounds. This is the second. All 4 rounds count. We already wrapped up women's round 2. We're in the men's round 2 right now. We'll check out both women and men in round 3 coming up after this. But Carlos Jimeno only 3rd to go. There's 12 men. Look at that. Cool sculpture right there, the floating stainless steel and glasswork. It's called She Lies, Joey. It's
I wonder if anyone goes on there and does a little slidey off it.
Possibly.
You know, I think of those things. Or maybe even a little BMX off the ramp at the top of the platform. Might be fun.
I'll tell you about it in a little bit.
Sorry, Trace.
I'll finish my thought.
Just hijacked.
This is what Constantin Popovich.
Hijacked your art
I get it.
theory.
So Popovich, the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion from 2023, one of 5 men to win it. Currently number 2 in World Series points, behind James Lichtenstein of the United States. 5th stop of the series, and total of 8. What's he got for DD here, Joey? Something big? Actually, we're just in this round right here, so nothing huge. But
intermediate round, so fixed degree of difficulty 3.6. Inward triple half for Constantin Popovich.
All right, Popovich now making a charge. He's going to need some points, just like David Kulturi. Kulturi ran 2nd. Popovich running 4th. So some of the big names really need to make an impact in this 2nd round to tee themselves up for round 3 and 4.
And what an impressive athlete. I did think he was actually rotating perhaps a little slow, but dug very deep in that repike at the end and got a really good entry. I tell you what, this guy impresses me. Busts up his knee in Boston, comes 11th. Then what does he do? Does his rehab, comes back and wins the competition in Italy, and here he is diving and scoring 9s.
He's a machine. He's like the dude in Terminator, right? Can't really just kill him off. You just keep blow him up, and then he just...
He's like a cockroach. Just keeps coming back. Can't kill him.
Popovich now into the lead by 11 points over Kulturi. So 151.80 after the 2nd round. So that'll help Popovich's campaign to climb up the leaderboard here in round number 2. All 4 rounds count. Look at that, how long that platform is. Once again, 100 feet long is that platform. 98 feet long to be totally precise. 30 meters in length. It is the longest platform in the history of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. The construction itself is a whole story in its own.
Yeah, I did speak with the engineer about the install of the platform some years ago, and he said it has to be absolutely perfect conditions when they install the platform, because they bring it in on a barge, and if there's too much wind, you just can't get it into place. So you have to really make sure you find your window when the conditions are good enough just to install the platform.
Oleksiy Prigorov, 37 years old, from Ukraine. Oh, not the entry that he was looking for. A little taller side in terms of size on the men's side. Joey, you catch up with him a lot, right? I mean, every few days you have a conversation.
Yeah.
And you help him out. You you try to give him pointers and really talk him through it. Yeah, Joey.
So Joey, what I need to do to win? Well, number 1, stop drinking vodka. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's a very, very hard-working athlete. But as a matter of fact, he was really struggling with a back injury in Northern Ireland. His back seized up about half an hour before the competition, and he said to me he was only back diving for a couple of days before he got here in Norway, so he really struggled with that injury. It's great to see him back on track, though. Did miss the entry, but hopefully he can make up for some lost ground with his more difficult
It's
rounds.
just, he's 37, and he's strong. He's a smart diver. But these guys have a lot of competitions, Joe, and you can talk about that in a second. But, I mean, there's so many competitions this season, and it is an all-out marathon. I mean, it's not just the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. These guys are going to all different sorts of places in between the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, and you just take a beating.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like having a football game every other day.
I mean, we've got 2 World Aquatic events coming up. We've got one in Bahrain, one in Brazil. We've had a World Aquatics World Championships in Doha this year. We've also had MAR meeting in Italy, and there's a bunch of other stuff that the athletes are doing, so they're feeling pretty tired right now.
Yeah, and from 37 years old of Oleksiy to the 20-year-old Andrea Barnaba of Italy, from Trieste. Oh, Barnaba, I love his style. A little bit of a heavy landing, Joey, but it's one of those guys that, watching him over the past couple years, for me, has been fun to watch. This kid's going to be good.
I mean, technically, he's immaculate. I mean, he's a really, really talented diver, so his coaching team is actually holding him back. We know he's capable of performing some insanely difficult dives, but they're just trying. Look at that pike position, by the way. Incredible flexibility. Just a slight over rotation, and you can just see in that angle, it was just a tiny bit past that vertical line and kicking up that splash, but that just tells you how much has to go right in 2 seconds as they freefall their way down from that 27-meter platform. However, keep an eye out for him. We can expect some great things for him in the future. He'll step up the degree of difficulty when the time's right.
Yeah, no question about it. Again, so much fun to watch, clean in the air. So Barnaba gaining some good experience. 4th place right now after the second round, 128.25. So, again, getting you back up to speed. Round 1 took place yesterday of 4. Round 2 and 3 are today. Women's round 2 today already happened. Rhiannan leads after round 2. We are now in the middle of the men's round 2. After this, women's round 3, then men's round 3, then tomorrow, round 4, 15:30, 3:30 p.m. CEST. Live on Red Bull TV, Facebook, and YouTube. You can check it all out, and exclusively in the USA on ESPN Plus at 1:30 p.m.
And make sure you tune in for the show tomorrow. You're going to see some mega dives, massive degree of difficulty.
Yeah, all big stuff.
It'll be exciting, and it really does come down to that last round to see who will win the competition here, and a lot can change from today coming into tomorrow's competition. Nikita Fedotov.
Yeah, always a fun diver to watch. Nikita Fedotov. 28th career start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Telling the safety divers, Joey, explain that. Telling them splash a little water, right?
So there's 2 things. Splashing will help the athletes see the surface of the water. And obviously the safety divers are there to retrieve the athlete in case there's a bad landing. And it does happen from time to time. There is some risk involved with cliff diving.
Here we go, Mr. Consistent, Nikita Fedotov, the 29-year-old independent athlete. Dropping one in, and he needs some strong points. He's 7 to go of 12 in this men's round number 2. It's got murky water, Joey. Does that make a difference with some of them? I mean, you and I were talking about like the clear water of Pognano Mare, Italy, versus some of the murky water. What do you prefer to dive in?
Well, every location, it varies. I mean, again, the sun can affect it, so if you get a lot of sun glare, it can be difficult to see the surface. The challenging part when you've got very clear and transparent water, it's very difficult to see the surface because you get confused. You don't understand where the surface is, or if you're sort of looking at the bottom or the middle point. That's why it's really important to splash. A little easier when actually the water's a little darker to see the surface, generally speaking.
It's late here right now. There's people weighing in kind of saying, are you guys going to wrap up before it's dark? Well, you know, we are in Oslo, Norway. I don't think it's going to get dark too quick.
Well, actually, I've got a funny story. Steve LeBou, like, we did this competition in Norway, and anyway, he just couldn't sleep because the sun didn't really set, and he had to kind of get like this mattress up on the walls, then put up towels everywhere because he can't sleep if there's any light.
Yeah, whatever. Lobuz, that was his excuse. He was out all night that time.
Yeah, he was a party boy.
All right.
Not.
Orlando Duque on the right-hand side, our World Series sports director, giving Fedotov a few words there of advice and suggestions as Fedotov moves into second place behind Popovich. So 151 for Popovich, 145 for Fedotov. Kulturi's in third as we look at Miguel Garcia putting himself in a good position. Running 8th of 12.
Yeah, he's a very stylish diver, and when he's on his game, he can be dangerous. Dangerous in the sense that he can be very competitive.
All right.
Yeah.
Putting one down. Great job by Miguel Garcia.
And his set before the dive was really quite quick. If you look at him, he looks very focused, has really good concentration, gets onto the platform, turns around, boom, and he's off the platform quickly. And I want to talk a little bit about, you know, the mindset required between dives. And Andy Banks, who is Tom Daly's coach, talks about planets. You need to shift from different planets, and each planet will represent a different state of mind. You know, so in the morning you're in a kind of a relaxed state. You know, you're talking to your friends, you're just trying to do things and talk about other things other than diving. Then you kind of shift into another gear when you arrive at the venue. You get into sort of a more concentrated mode where you're planning out what you need to do for your warm up. But then you've really got to get into this very clear Zen-like concentration state before you get onto the dive. You've got to be very conscious of the types of states you need to be in at certain times of the competition. After the dive, you've got to reset, pull back a little bit, because you don't want to be concentrating all the time. You'll burn your brain out, right? So it's very important to shift gears at different stages throughout the competition.
So Garcia with a 141.20. When you add his first round and second round together, puts him in third. All right, so now we go with our next competitor, Jolotl Martinez, only 21 years old. Having fun watching him this season, Joey, I have to tell you. Only his third World Series start. Got a fourth place in the opener for him.
Yeah.
Boston, right? Sweet.
Fourth in the World Championships as well. So he comes from a great caliber, a great level of conventional springboard diving. Did compete in the World Championships, World Aquatic World Championships in Budapest.
I mean, there's no spring on this thing right here.
Yeah, it's a really big adjustment coming from springboard to platform diving. It's not that easy, actually.
Extra kick.
Whoa!
Martinez.
Jolotl.
I mean, this kid, you know, we saw him that first fourth place finish, and usually kind of write kids off like that. You're like, we'll see how you do the next jump, the next time around. Then he pops into seventh place the next event.
Well, he disappeared into the Oslo harbour here today. I mean, that was just an exquisite entry. The thing I really like about him is this really aggressive takeoff here. Look at that, bang, big jump. Nice and confident, and that's what the judges want to see, right? They want to see good, confident diving, nice, strong takeoff, good position in the air, and a nice, clean entry.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Look at those nines.
Nice.
Whoa.
Jolotl.
Martinez, so he'll drop a 9.5 as you see one of them, and a 9. So he'll keep 3 9s. Keep your eye on the left-hand lower corner of the screen. Anything highlighted in white, he'll keep those 3 9s. That is big, multiplied by the degree of difficulty. In yellow, 97.2 for his second round dive. You add that with the first round, 157.40, and Martinez moves ahead of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series King Cock Healy Trophy winner from 2023, Popovich.
And Jolotl really got good scores, not only because he had a good entry, because he had that great takeoff. It was really powerful. Let's say the takeoff was not as high and maybe a little bit further away from the platform. You probably would have only seen 8. So the judges are really paying close attention to all the elements that take off the flight and the entry here today. Great shots of this incredible platform, 27 meters up, 90 feet high, the equivalent of a 9th-story high-rise balcony.
Yeah, and if you just joined, it's mounted to the famous Oslo Opera House.
I mean, and there was a briefing saying, "Don't damage the Opera House."
I mean, it's known for the, Norwegian National Opera and Ballet and other major concerts. And today, it's the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series that is featured at the Oslo Opera House. And Jonathan Paredes.
Speaking of Opera House, actually, in Denmark, the exact same situation.
Oh, yeah.
The roof is exactly 27 meters.
Right?
Must be an Opera House thing, huh? 2 art forms blending together.
So Jonathan Paredes, one of the King Kyle Trophy winners in the history of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Did that in 2017. Paredes having a good season this year, really coming around, struggled for about 2.5, 3 years, and now is finding a little bit more confidence this season. So Paredes, 10 to go of 12 men here in the second of 4 rounds.
Actually, he is, like you said, a former winner of the King Kyle Trophy, and that came down to a thrilling finale in Largo Ranco, Chile. And Gary Hunt had his last dive, and it was actually a failed dive and left that opening. Actually, the competition was in the bag for Gary. Failed dive, and then Jonathan Paredes slipped through to win the series in spectacular fashion. It was a really thrilling showdown. But definitely, without a doubt, one of the most stylish cliff divers on the planet.
It's very rare that building right there, the Oslo Opera House, has been used for sporting competitions. Beautiful building covered with that Italian marble, that white granite. They wanted to make it appear like it's rising from the water, and they have done a fantastic job at that. As we are in the final stages of round number 2 of the men, before we get into round 3 for the women, and then round 3 for the men. Tomorrow, round 4.
Great shot of the Ferris wheel there. Really to see it's not quite the same height as the 27-meter platform. If you are in Oslo, I do urge you to go onto the Ferris wheel, have a look. Gain some perspective of what it's like to be on that platform. Impressive event for the locals to watch this competition. It's not often you get to see cliff diving up close and personal. One thing to see it on television, but it's a whole nother thing to see it live.
James Lichtenstein. How about this guy?
How about this guy?
Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series leader. You talk about a guy who's been a smart competitor this season and really pacing himself mentally and physically. It's this guy. That's why he's leading the World Series. Super consistent. From the United States, 29 years old. His round 2 dive. And another consistent dive by James Lichtenstein. Perhaps a bit of a splash, more than he wanted, but it should keep him in there as a guy who is consistent all 4 rounds. And that is what it's going to take. You talked to Molly Carlson earlier about that, and David O.C. caught up with her, and she's like, I haven't put together 4 dives, right? And that's why she hasn't been able to maybe overtake Rhiannan.
We came into the season with a game plan, and having a game plan is very important. And James works a lot on his aerial awareness. I spoke to his coach, Steve LeBou, and back in Fort Lauderdale, he's doing a lot of practice from the lower heights, doing a lot of back quad somersaults from 20 meters to make sure he gets the kick out right. So the kick out, meaning where he comes out of that ball shape into that straight position, is very important, and he does that over and over and over. And he's stuck to his game plan of rotational dives and not doing any twisting dives. He's like, I'm going to stick with this, and that's working.
I mean, put himself in a great position. It's like a track runner, like in the qualifying rounds, right, Joey? Like, you don't have to win it. You don't have,
No.
second, third, whatever. Just stay consistent. He's in second right now, which is a great position to be in. Props to Jolotl Martinez, who's sitting in first right now. So
Wow.
the youngster in a great spot as we look at our final diver on the men's side for round number 2. We'll see all the men again here in round number 3 shortly. The women before that. But here's the guy who won the last Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series stop, Aiden Heslop of the UK, 22 years old. He also won the stop in Boston this season, in high contention for the King Kaakili Trophy 2024.
And won the previous tour stop in Northern Ireland, so he's got 2 wins, but he's also been off the podium. We were talking about James earlier, and James has not missed the podium, right? He hasn't won a competition. That's why he's leading the series right now. But James Lichtenstein has a target on his back, and one of the men chasing him is this man here, Aiden Heslop, and Constantin Popovic for that matter.
Well, Heslop, maybe again. Joey, break down that entry. Got to clean those things up when you have really consistent diving going on, especially with young Martinez
and James.
James, and you got to be sharp. And I would say, arguably, when you and I started working together, 10 years ago, you could get away with that. That would be the top dive. But now, oof, you got to be clean, man.
No, I mean it's 2 things. I mean the level of execution, right, and the degree of difficulty in this era of cliff diving is just totally insane, right? And the point is they're able to execute these dives with such high degree of difficulty, but occasionally it doesn't pay dividends. So he's just dropped back a little bit there, but Aiden has got the highest degree of difficulty across 2 dives to come, so maybe he can make up some lost ground on that, but that's not what he wanted on that particular dive.
Yeah,
just talking to his coach there, just trying to figure out what went wrong with the entry.
He's going to stay in there. Stefan from Canada coaches many of the athletes. We're going to see him and the rest of the crew in Montreal at the next stop on their home soil. But right now, it is Jolotl Martinez leading the charge on the men's side. How about that? 157.40. The youngster with a huge boost of confidence. Lichtenstein, Popovic, Heslop, Paredes, Pedetop. It is not over, Joey. This is round number 2. 4 total rounds of diving in Red Bull Cliff Diving. So, and they all count. There you go, 7 through 12. The 16-year-old Archie Biggin getting some experience in 12th position right now.
Busboy Biggin.
Busboy Biggin. All right, so that wraps up men's round 2. Getting ready to get in step for the women's round number 3. But first, we send it over to David O.C. Who are you with, Dave?
I'm down here with none other than Aiden Heslop. So Aiden, you came out of the first round. You actually yesterday you were quite surprised by that result. This round not quite up there, but still 2 rounds to go. What happened today?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, good round yesterday. It was nice to be on top, but people have been hitting dives today, and I just wasn't quite on it, and slipped down the leaderboard a little bit. There's not too many points to make up, and I've got some big dives in my last 2 rounds here, but I really wanted to hit that a little bit better and kind of stay on top there.
And really, this could potentially be a season changer throughout this weekend. Get on that win. Does that add pressure to this contest?
I'd like to say no, but maybe it does subconsciously a little bit. But I'm just trying to play it dive by dive and enjoy myself. And it's getting a little bit dark and gloomy out here, so it's getting harder and harder to do that, I gotta say.
All right, well, none other than you can do it. So good luck in the rest of the events. Cheers, Aiden. All right,
great stuff, Dave. Thanks a lot.
And it's definitely. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. No, you're good, dude. Go ahead.
Keep talking, Dave.
Yeah, what's up?
I interrupt Chase all the time. It's great. That'll do.
That was good stuff.
We muted him. No, it's actually interesting what Aiden, just picking on what Aiden said, but it's, we are getting late in the evening now, so the sun is coming down and it's getting a little bit darker, and we're coming into the optional dive round, so we've got 1 more dive to go, but we're really going to see the athletes start to push the limits.
So let me just get you up to speed. Round 1 for the men and the women took place yesterday.
Yep.
I was on TikTok Live. You can watch it back, all right? So round 2 and 3 today, we are live on YouTube. Trace Worthington next to Joey Zuber. You saw David O.C. This is the women's start list for round number 3. Round number 4 for the men will follow. Then tomorrow, we will go live again with round number 4 at 15:30, 3:30 p.m. CEST. Redbull TV, Facebook, YouTube, all the good stuff exclusively in the USA on ESPN Plus at 1:30 p.m. Start list for round 3. Ellie Smart has some work to do. Ginni Van Katwijk had a great last stop. We'll dive number 7. And a batter to the veteran, number 8. So, again, the top 3, Panizzi, Carlson, and Iflin. We'll cap things off for the women's round number 3. Joe, you said the light, I think that's a super interesting point. As you see, it is going down. In your particular case, when you dove in this type of light, what is the strategy? What do you do? What do you need?
Hope for the best.
Yeah? You just kind of close your eyes and go, or what?
No, but it is what it is, right? I mean, it's the same for everybody, and just sometimes when it's a bit darker, you just have to be very alert. Like, the one thing that I say to myself is, like, be sharp at the end. Like, really pay sort of close attention to what's going around, use your peripheral vision, and concentrate. That's the key in this particular sport. You've got to get in the zone, think about what you need to do, and once you're in the air, make those adjustments and stay sharp. But it can affect you. And you just don't know what it's going to be like until you do the dive.
Yeah, and when you compare it to other sports, of course, some of the big sports that we've been watching lately throughout the past couple weeks in France. So you have these controlled environments, right? The light in the pool area where they have springboard diving and they have platform diving, consistent light all day long, consistent water, consistent everything.
But even on that note, I mean, you can go to different venues, and sometimes the athletes indoors still have problems with the lights. There'll be like one light, particularly in a new venue.
But it doesn't change from dive to dive. From round 1 to round 2 or round 2 to 3.
No, exactly, but it can still bother the athletes in terms of their spotting.
Sure.
So when they're somersaulting, they'll just all of a sudden like, man, I just keep seeing that light. It really bothers me. So sometimes they struggle indoors, and every single location is different. Even if it's indoors, outdoors, everything changes. But of course, when it's low light, it's a little bit harder to see what's going on. But conversely, if you've got a lot of light and the sun is setting and you get, a lot of glare off the water, that can blind you. And you can see the water. So that can actually be worse than this particular light condition that we've got right now.
Ellie Smart from the United States, round 3. First to go of 12, and that's what she needed to boost her confidence. Very nice dive by Ellie.
Twisting it up, wrapping it up, Ellie Smart. And she's definitely one of the go-getters, definitely an entrepreneur. Always hosting lots of different kinds of high diving events, freestyle cliff diving events as well. And I don't know how she fits it all in.
She actually competed in a freestyle event.
Did she really?
Yeah, just a few days ago.
I didn't see that.
I think she threw just some big fat gainer or something like that.
Well, there's some dude, like, I don't know his name. I'm sorry if I've forgotten his name, but I will look it up. But he did like a side 6 somersault.
Yeah,
six tuple side somersault from the top. Amazing.
Yeah,
stuff.
like a foot grab.
Yeah, I don't know what you call it.
Kind of a Japan grab,
cool.
Japan grab, quad side, quint side flip.
I've heard of a few Venom grabs. I've heard of that. Anyway, sorry guys, I do need to get up with the lingo of those
So
terms.
you see the third round there in yellow, 81.7. So you add all 3 together so far. Ellie Smart with a 167.30. She will need a big 4th round dive. Moving on to our next competitor, women's platform. Reminder, 21 meters, 70 feet off the water. Platform length, 30 meters, 98 feet long right there. Get you a whole fashion show on that thing.
And you can see that hole there. You can see the top of the platform. There's a hole obviously that's the trap hatch. I'll call it the trap door to make your way down to the 21-meter platform, 90 feet up, as Trace just said. 5 meters of water depth.
Paula Gilbert, Spain, needs 7.5 to pull into the lead.
In with 2 somersaults in the pike position, half twist.
So Gilbert doing a nice job. Joey and I did notice her ankles just really curling up hard and getting that good flat foot coming into the water. And again, those who just joined us, that's so important. And I love when you explain that. Feet first, creating that tube for the divers to kind of just, creating that hole for them to dive through and sink through and plummet through.
Yeah. So actually in diving, in headfirst diving, and in cliff diving, there's a similar technique. And so your feet will just start to flatten. You can see it there to create that hole. The same applies when you go headfirst. The divers actually grab their hands and pull it to make this kind of flat surface. That makes the hole for your body to pass through. It's a bit like creating like a manhole, right? Diving through that manhole as you pass through the water. So it's really important to get the feet just a little bit flat, once again, to help with those rip entries.
So Gilbert will move into the lead when you add her first 3 rounds together. 169.60.
So I just got a little props for Jonah Genser, the dude who did the 6 tuple side somersault. You rock. That's pretty cool. Jonah Gensner, you rock.
Oh, did somebody say that on the little chat room?
No, we got that from our producer there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Hey, we are getting some props from the audience too on the slow-mo shots. I mean, those guys do a good job back. Really nice job. Our slow-mo ops.
Oh yeah, man.
You got to give those guys props. They never get props, right?
No, dude.
Come on, Joey.
They're awesome.
Give them some props.
Their little jog wheels.
Yeah.
It's pretty busy in the galley, getting the live show right. It's not an easy task. Meili Carpenter, here we go. Optional dive, 4.0 degree of difficulty.
There you go. Drop it in. Seawater, saltwater here in Oslo. Meili Carpenter, the climber. I caught up with her too. She said she did find some climbing gyms in the area.
Yeah, she's a great climber. Great all-round athlete, gymnast, sword fighting, circus performer.
This platform probably doesn't intimidate her at all, walking out onto that. Actually, I think she got a top. I think she got 3rd place here back in 2022.
Yep, she has podium here in the past, but no, let's dispel that myth. If you're wondering, or if you're thinking these athletes must have no fear, every single time they get on the platform, they feel the feel, they feel the nerves. As a matter of fact, in the show tomorrow, we'll actually get to see the live heart rate to see how high the heart rate is on the athletes just before the dive.
So Carpenter will move into the lead. You add all 3 rounds together so far, 186.15. 4 rounds of diving. We are at the beginning, the women's 3rd round. Then we'll check out the men's 3rd round. And then tomorrow, round 4, 15:30, 3:30 p.m. CEST, live on Red Bull TV, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. RedbullCliffdiving.com is a place to go for any updates. Check it out in the USA on ESPN Plus, 1:30 p.m. Nelli Chikaniska, the 17-year-old of Ukraine.
Just had a little phone call coming through from Aiden Hinchliffe.
Oh, yeah?
Had a just good little result in Paris with Madison Keeney in 2nd. I'd have to say, no, mate, I'm commentating. Can't answer the call.
Well, congrats.
Oleksiy Shivanov, former Red Bull cliff diver, coaching his diver Nelli Chukanivska. In with 2 somersaults, pike position with a half twist. You can hear the wind really howling on the platform.
2022 Junior World High Diving Champion, trying to make an impact at 17 years old here on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. I just love watching the future of this World Series, Joey. Getting the experience, and not only getting the experience, but putting down some really solid dives.
Yeah.
Of course, Martinez leading the, on the men's side, leading the charge after round number 2.
Yeah, and from the junior competitions, they start on 12 meters, then work their way up to 15 meters, but it's definitely a big jump coming up to the 21-meter platform, 70 feet up. And I do remember the first time I did my first high dive. Well, actually, you do work your way up in increments, like I was saying before, but when you really finally get to the top and do that dive for the first time, wow, what a terrifying experience.
Yeah, a bunch of 8s across the board here. Drop a 7.5 by Martinez. Drop one of those 8s, keep 3 of them. I used to dive off cliff. I would not dive, but I used to jump off cliffs in Lake Powell when I was younger, right?
Yeah, that's a cool spot.
And it was like, you always went up there with your shoes on,
Yeah.
And you always, I'm going to grab an old pair of tennis shoes. But you always thought back then, I have to wear shoes. I don't
Yeah,
know.
a lot of people do that. It's true.
Why did I do that? Why was that a thing? Like,
I think it's actually more dangerous because when you hit the water, you got more surface area, you got this big heavy shoe on, you got more of a chance to actually pull your legs apart and actually have a groin injury. So you're actually better
it's like
off
the foamy.
Yeah, you're better off jumping off with bare feet. That's obviously why they do it in this sport. They're not wearing tennis shoes, folks.
Elisa Cassetti is that next to drop.
So once again, this is the optional dive round. So this is unlimited degree of difficulty. The graphics on the screen will show how high the DD is, degree of difficulty. And we've got dives going up to 4.4. So we're in the middle range of difficulty right now. So it's important to stay within the realm of your own capacity. Very stylish diver, Elisa Cassetti.
She just turned 22 years old. Graceful in the air and putting it down.
Whoa.
Ripping that entry.
Elisa Cassetti. Yeah, with a vanishing act there. And she knows it too, all smiles. Sometimes you can feel that, Trace.
Yeah.
When you hit the water, you can feel that bubble, that jet stream coming around your ears. You can hear that tearing sound. So we say rip entry, and it's because of the sound it makes. You hear that as you slide through the water, and then if you don't make a rip, it's a kaboom. And you don't want that. You want the sound. That's what we're looking for. In the tuck position. And coming around, there's that classic trampolining style Barani. What is a Barani? That's the front somersault with a half twist, allowing the athletes to see the surface right until the end of the dive. As we watch the safety divers plunge down into the chilly waters here in Norway. But Elisa Cassetti should be very happy with that dive. Great scores.
She should be, yeah. Great scores. So if you add all 3 rounds so far, there's 4 total, but after 3, she's in the lead, 2:02.10. She's 4th to go at 12, so a lot of great divers yet to drop in. Important to be consistent. There's that light we're talking about, Joey. Now coming from the side.
I do think they have that bit of cloud cover is making it a bit darker as well, so that's making it might be a little more challenging for the men. Obviously, we have to wait for the women to finish, and the men will step into gear for their 4th or 3rd round dive.
Here's Simone Leadhead, Canada. She was first to go in the 2nd round. Had a great dive, which pulled her back up the rankings. Exactly what you need to do. Came out blazing hot in Greece with that 3rd place podium finish.
So Simone Leadhead with a back triple full, so back triple somersault with 1 twist.
It's going quick. There you go. Simone Leadhead means business.
Yeah, I love that ready, set, go kind of attitude. When she gets on the platform, she's all business. I think that's what you need to do. It has been a challenging few competitions for her. Looked like she was just a little underdone on rotation. But definitely the competition in Northern Ireland tested the limits for many of the athletes.
Yeah,
diving directly from the cliff face, late night starts in the evening, diving early in the morning, crazy stuff.
I was just going to ask you, Joey, I mean, you know, when people do comment, the biggest question is, you know, do people get hurt a lot? You know, right? And we did see a lot of banged up divers in Ireland and some of the other stops, and so far so good right here in Oslo, Norway. We're seeing a lot of clean dives, even though, you know, you see some big splashes here and there, but nevertheless, yes, there are a lot of things that happen. We've done big features on it of, you know, when things go wrong. 70 on that, 183.70, she'll pull into 3rd. But yes, to answer the question, many injuries from cliff diving.
And some of the injuries can be repetitive strain injuries, sometimes from the impact, sometimes from bad landings. But like all sports, there's injuries. It does happen.
Exactly.
But a great shot once again of that whopping platform, 30 meters long, 100 feet in total. Gives you a great sense of scale and height of the. You can see how tiny our athletes are as they stand on that daunting platform, taking the plunge, not just having to deal with the height, but dealing with those complicated dives. And the biggest fear for the athletes is losing their orientation in the air, and that's happened to all athletes at some time. And generally when that happens, you have a bit of a wipeout. You don't want that from this high. Big DD. Check this out. Arm stand. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists in the pike position. It's a very difficult dive.
Arm stand dive by Ginni van Katwijk. Oof. Better hope the wind doesn't pick up now.
Impressive stuff.
Great dive by Ginni van Katwijk. Bit of a splash. Who cares? Doing an arm stand dive, 21 meters, 70 feet above the water. And she swims to the shore. Wow. Joey, how scary is that to do that arm stand dive?
And the particular thing that I find interesting about these arm stand dives, and it's a forward arm stand dive. You might be thinking, oh, forward might be easier than back, but actually the back arm stand dive is a lot easier to generate the rotation, just to bend at the arms and then bend at the waist to kick, and it's really difficult to get the timing right. You need a lot of practice. Watch the hips bend, the arms will bend, and then it's like a flick to get the rotation going. If you do not get that flick right at the beginning, you can be in some serious trouble and not have enough rotation to finish the dive. Looked like she got a bit twisted on the end there as well. Just needed to keep those arms a bit wider and squarer to stop the over twist on the Barani. But that's okay. Still dialing that dive in. She hasn't done that dive all that many times.
So moving to fifth, the 179.30 after that 60-point dive in round 3. So the 3 rounds have been added together for her. The 4th round again will happen tomorrow, and that's the final round. So Hassan and Orlando making sure things are cool. There's that walk down to the women's platform.
Well, it's not a walk, it's a climb.
Climb, yeah. And a batter. Great form coming down that ladder.
Oh, nailed it. Great footage as the sun sets over Oslo. Light beaming on the platform. Looking for a good dive here, and a batter.
Mother of 2. 40 years old. So Hannah Batter,
nice.
giving you a nice little display of her experience. Great job by the 40-year-old German diver in the women's round 3.
Got some great comments coming in from Anne, Lindsay, Wright. This whole competition is riveting. Kudos to all the divers, and that's a great line. Respect to all these divers. They're doing such a tremendous job managing the height, managing the difficulty, and it's still quite cold outside and very chilly conditions. Hats off to every single one of these athletes. They are so brave and so talented. And there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to make this sport possible. Years of gymnastics training, years of diving.
And yours paid off for Anna Batter, coming in with an 80.50 on that 3rd round. 199.65. So that puts her in a 2nd behind Elisa Cassetti, who leads the way with a 2:02.10. 4 divers remaining in this women's round 3 before we get into the men's round 3. Another shot of the Oslo Opera House, where that platform is mounted to. Platform 30 meters, 100 feet long.
Big shout out to Kyle Mitrione, who's in the chat and the YouTube channel. So Kyle Mitrione, He's definitely busted out some pretty big dives in his time in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series.
Look at the platform. Oof. I mean, no railings on that. Bad boy, Joey.
Yep. Forget them safety rails. It's all about cliff diving.
Hey, Trace, you want to go up and check out the platform? No, I'm good. I'm good this one. You want to take a photo?
No, I'll stay.
No, I'm cool.
Stay in the box.
Paula Quintero. 24-year-old Colombian. See her stepfather, Miguel Garcia, competing today. So Quintero pulling in the knees just at the last flip right there, Joey. Good job by her, getting her feet underneath her, right?
Yeah. So she was in a bit of trouble at the end of that dive there. And normally she does that dive quite well. First woman in the world to do the front quad half. She was in a spot of trouble at the end of the dive, and we can spell it out in more detail in the replay. But this is about risk versus reward. You're pushing the limits, right? Front four somersault. That's no easy dive. So the arms throwing forwards like a soccer ball to generate rotation. 1, coming around, 2 somersaults, coming around, 3, looking at the water, just came out of the dive too early, in my opinion, and ran out of room and landed really short of vertical. So the come out, when I say the come out, that means when they come out of that ball shape is critical. So I think she came out a little bit too early, which meant she slowed the rotation down. It's a bit of a shame there.
So 50 points on that dive, so 172.10, getting some tips from fellow Colombian and mentor Orlando Duque. What's typically telling her right now, Joey? I mean, just to kind of set her up for the 4th round tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think he just filmed the dive and he's just replaying what happened, and sometimes just to analyse like where he went wrong. So sometimes it's good to do that right after the dive. Look at it. Okay, that's where we went wrong. Look at the video. How do I make a correction for next time? Yes, she's not going to do that same dive tomorrow, but it will help her coming back into the next competition.
Sure.
Going, right, I need to recalibrate.
It's like a quarterback going back to the bench, kind of looking at the
coach
looking at the play.
You stuffed it. You forgot the play. What are you doing?
Throw it in the right spot next time. Xantheia Panizzi. Nice job as we wind down, getting close to finalizing women's round 3.
So inward, 3 somersaults in the pike position with a half twist. So standing backwards, rotating in towards the platform. So the athletes, as per the rules, have to show 4 different takeoff directions across all 4 dives. We'll have to do a front takeoff, an inward, a reverse, for example, an arm stand to mix it up. So variety is key in this sport. Typically does take a long time in this dive.
She went quick in round 2.
Does get quite fatiguing on the calf muscles. More than 90 seconds in this position, so you step back.
Okay.
Just feeling frustrated not able to get the dive off, and it happens to a lot of athletes.
I was going to say, Joey, this isn't the time you're like, what are you doing? This is the time where you say, good move, right?
Yeah, if
you're not feeling it, when you're not feeling it 70 feet, 21 meters above the water, you don't go.
And I've seen that in the competition. Anna Batter's done it in Switzerland, and she got to the end and just said, I'm just not feeling it. I just can't do it. I'm just going to back off and not do the dive. So Xantheia's climbing back up and perhaps forfeiting this dive, and it's a tough sport. Look, and I'm sure she's going to be disappointed with herself, but she'll be able to recalibrate and get back on the horse, as they say. But all divers have experienced this at some point in their career, and we're definitely feeling for Xantheia. And be time to go away, reset, and come back.
You have Meili and Rhiannan there, just like looking at her, going, "Hey,
we're with you.
Good job."
But, and this is the thing, all the athletes, right, they have so much respect for each other. They understand what it's like to stand on that platform. That's not easy.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. I mean, when I did the competitions, I'd wake up in the morning nervous. I could hardly eat my breakfast, thinking about my dives, replaying in the mind over and over. And it takes a lot of mental toll on you to do this sport. This sport is not for everybody, let me tell you.
So that will not count really, as a failed dive.
Yes, that's right.
So we'll move on to our next diver, which is Meili Carlson of Canada, who is leading after round number 1 and then round 2. Still did a nice job, but then Rhiannan made a last-second surge to pull into the top spot. She will dive last. That's her warming up right there. And Meili, followed by Rhiannan to round out women's round number 3 here in Oslo, Norway. Round 4 tomorrow.
So the running takeoff here. Look at the degree of difficulty, Tariff. Right up there, 4.4. Running takeoff, front 4 somersaults, pike position, the half twist. The half twist is the Barani at the end of the dive. Scary stuff. Putting everything on the line.
Oh, a busy dive for a busy woman these days. Meili Carlson.
Tacking the takeoff and a dynamite entry by the looks of it. Big smiles, fist pump. She feels like it's good. Must be good. I'll just give it, let's give it high scores just for the reaction. That's great.
For those new to Red Bull cliff diving, she really only got into the sport about 4 years ago. I mean, she's been diving, but in terms of cliff diving, she came on really strong. And tell you what made Rhiannan very nervous the second that she came onto the scene.
Yeah, and that's what you want, but though you want some rivals. And Meili, coming from that fantastic technical background, tacked the takeoff. Digging deep for the entry. Super clean, a little bit short of vertical, so some deductions for that. But overall, I think she should be pretty happy with that dive. With a high degree of difficulty, she should climb up the ranks. Yeah, a little bit of a deduction for that off angle at the end. But still, good diving.
238.70 when you add all 3 rounds so far together. There's 4 rounds in total, but Carlson in a great position with a 338.70 over Cassetti of Italy, who's in second with a 202.10. Now, the thing that throws you off with Carlson, even if it was a bad dive, she'd still be smiling.
I've seen her disappointed a few times.
Really?
Yeah. Once.
I'm sure her boyfriend Aiden Heslop has seen it before a couple times. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, when the shoes get thrown at you. I mean, that happens to me all the time. Don't clean up, you get something thrown at you. That's the way it goes.
All right, so Rhiannan 7-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion, leads the World Series in terms of points. She's actually at 78 points over Meili Carlson with 59 points. Kaylee Arnett of the United States actually still sits in 3rd overall in the World Series. She hasn't competed in the last competition. She's taken this one off too because of injury. But Rhiannan and Ifla now will round out the third round for the women today before we get into the fourth round live tomorrow.
So Rhi doing her new dive, running takeoff.
How come she doesn't use all 98 feet of the platform for the run?
Actually, no, it's a good point. It's a good point. No,
I mean, wouldn't you go higher? I don't know.
I actually had to measure Oleksiy Prigorov's running takeoff. It was something ridiculous. It was almost 6 meters. So 6 meters, how much is that in feet? It's like 18, 19 feet long run-up. So typically you see that in 10-meter traditional diving. The run-up's pretty long, 5 meters, so 16 feet. But you can do it with a short one. Some of the platforms in Red Bull cliff diving are shorter than others, so you're better off actually having a shorter approach. Here we go.
Here you go, Rhi. All right. A little bit more of a splash than we usually see out of Rhiannan and Ifla, but nevertheless, just to make sure I introduce you to Rhiannan and Ifla if you're new to cliff diving. She is the GOAT of women's cliff diving on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. 45 podiums out of 47 starts, 38 wins out of those 47 starts. She's never been out of the top 5 since she started.
Pretty impressive. So this is a relatively new dive for Rhiannan. She hasn't competed it all that many times. Good takeoff, getting into the twist, nice and square, holding into the pike position. Let's just have a look at the entry. It's so stylish through that Varani. Just a little rounded through the water, just leaving the glutes pushed out at the end and kicking up a little bit of splash. As you will be a little disappointed for that, but we know that Rhiannan Ifla has what? A fighting spirit.
Well, that'll help out. You know, we always say if you're going to beat Rhiannan Ifla, she needs to make a small mistake, and that is what just happened. That just small mistake right there at the end that Joey pointed out. So the 84 will give her a 231.70 when you add all 3 rounds together. So that means Molly Carlson sitting in a good position in the number 1 spot. So Molly led after round 1. Now she's leading after round 3, coming into the pivotal and more important round number 4.
The interesting thing is that coming into tomorrow's competition, Rhiannan will have a 4.3 degree of difficulty dive. Molly Carlson a 3.7.
Okay.
So the degree of difficulty may play in Rhiannan's favour, although there's an 8-point gap. She may be able to pull ahead of Molly Carlson if she has a great dive.
So Molly Carlson with that 238.70 leads after round number 3. She will carry that score into round number 4. Iflin in second. Elisa Cassetti in the top 3 with a 202.10. Anna Batter, 40-year-old diver from Germany, in 4th. Carpenter made her way back up on the board there in 5th. Another Canadian and Leadhead in 6th after women's round number 3. Chukaniska of Ukraine doing a great job, Joey. Her debut, 7th awesome. Right now. And then Ginni Van Katwijk.
But there has been
Gilbert was I
was just going to say there has been some slip-ups, in that particular round 3. It was a tough one for Maria, obviously very challenging for Xantheia but Molly Carlson with a enormous smile, as we always expect. Infectious smile, I'm going to call it.
And she is that Brave Gang's going to be out in Montreal. I'll tell you what. That, by the way, August 23rd through 25th, the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series next stop hits Montreal, a new location. Round 1 live on TikTok, August 23rd. Joey, rounds 2 and 3, you and me will be calling it on YouTube on August 24th in the final round. On the 25th of August in Montreal, as Archie Biggin kicks off the men's 3rd round already with that dive. So there you have it. He carries that 90.05 into this 3rd round. Prigorov has some work to do. Barnaba, Jimeno, Polturi working his way back up the leaderboard. Again, this is the start list for men's round 3. Heslop, Popovich, James Lichtenstein, the World Series leader at the moment, and then Jolotl Martinez. Top spot after 2 rounds.
The new guard The new generation, watch out, folks. Here we go.
So with Biggin taking his first dive, we have 11 more men to drop. I'll show you that dive again here pretty soon. So we welcome you in Oslo, Norway. Stop number 5 of 8. Trace Worthington sitting next to Red Bull cliff diving expert Joey Zuber. You got David O.C. cruising around, checking things out, reporting for us down by the water. So here's that dive by Archie Biggin.
Back 3 somersaults, 2 twists. And let me tell you, Archie Biggin will be feeling that tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah. he'll be sitting on the ice cushion, let me tell you. that won't be fun. But that's cliff diving, folks.
Look at this form, though. I love the form.
Amazing takeoff. He's got excellent technique. Just got to start working on the entries and then just staying in that rounded shape. Actually, what he needed to do was just really lift sharp and pick the right moment to lift into that vertical position. But it does take time to understand how to get to vertical. The adjustments at the end of the dive, particularly from 27 meters, is really tough. I really noticed that change from 25 meters to 27 meters. Big acceleration curve difference.
Putting it off from Ukraine, drops for his third round. Lots of water flying here in the second round so far.
Yeah, it's definitely been a tough competition for some of the athletes. And as I did say earlier in the show, Oleksiy had some back troubles. His back seized up an hour and a half before the competition in Northern Ireland, and he just said he just could not get into the pike position. And he said he only got back diving 2 days ago, just before this competition. So I'm looking at that pike there. He's holding on and he's just running out of room. Perhaps he could have held on a little longer to keep that shape and a big uppercut and a hard landing. But this is one Brazilian athlete. If we know anything about Oleksiy, this man knows how to come back.
5 judges score between 1 and 10, the high and the lower toss, the remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty. So you see there, highlighted in white, 2 4s and 4.5 low scores for Prigorov. In yellow is his score on that particular dive, 63.75. He's in the lead with 191.35. A lot of guys yet to drop. And Joey, as we look at a beautiful setting here and a beautiful backdrop, the sunset, I mean, perfect for photos, you know, your Instagram shot, Joey, this is where your face looks really nice, you know, that sunset shot. But
the golden hour,
the golden hour. For the dives, though, for the dives, in your case, like, and you've been here before, not the case maybe, right? Like, I don't care how cool my Instagram photo is because the diving gets more challenging as it gets darker.
Yeah, I mean, look, this could be, you know, causing some of the issues on the entries for the athletes. It generally is darker, so it will be harder to see the surface. Pretty curious to talk to the athletes after this round of diving, just get their thoughts on what it was like visually, how it was to adjust at the end of the dive. In the air, you're kind of an autopilot, but it's the end where I believe the challenges will come into play with the light conditions.
20-year-old Andrea Barnaba of Italy. Great lift. Barnaba drills one in.
Well, he's got his night vision goggles on that one.
Yeah.
Hey? No problems with that. Well, he's young. He's got good eyesight.
He's got good eyesight, yeah.
He's all right. It's his past. He's good sight.
Barnaba, the junior world champion, when not competing, said he's hanging out with his buddies playing video games.
He loves a bit of DJing, a little bit of partying too, as the youngsters do.
Nice lift.
Great elevation, huh? Naturally very powerful. A lot of cliff diving athletes have natural fast twitch muscles, and you're generally born with that. And you need fast twitch muscles. Why? Because you need to be powerful, and that helps you get that elevation and helps you complete those complicated maneuvers that they're performing from this 27-meter platform. Bunch of nines.
Come on.
4 nines and a 9.5.
Barnaba.
Dad jokes plus, here we go.
Oh yeah, here we go. Barnaba. Bunch of nines.
Well, he's got the second lowest degree of difficulty and he placed 6th at the previous competition. And that just shows you that how well he can execute the dive. Did score a 10 as well in the competition in Polignano Amati. He's a fine diver, let me tell you. And when he starts busting out those difficult tricks, watch out.
That big sculpture right there, by the way, I'm trying to slide that in.
What is it?
It's called She Lies, Joey. It
She
is
Lies?
a steel and glass work of art. Now, what I think is cool about it when you see it next is that
slide
is
off it.
12 meters, 39 feet above the water. And I think that's cool how that gives you a perspective of how high these platforms are when you see
How high?
that sculpture of art.
How high?
39 feet above the water, 12 meters.
39 feet, 12 meters. There you go. So 10 meters is the traditional height for platform diving. Carlos Simone set to impress with his back arm stand, 4.5 somersaults. This will be wild. Carlos spent a long time working on cruise ships as well. There's the heart rate, 124 beats per minute. Resting heart rate is around 60 beats per minute.
There you go. He meant no.
There's
I didn't hear. Did you point out where that heart rate monitor is located?
On the left hand
On the
side.
left, okay.
Yeah, the left hand side of the arm. So there's his coach Ramon, who's coaching the team out in Madrid. I did see something at the end of the dive. I just need to see in the replay what happened. Always impressive seeing that arm stand from that 27-meter platform, using that fantastical aerial awareness and counting the water as it goes by. There's the kick out or the come out coming around at the end. No, pretty good. I just suspected he may have bent his legs a little bit at the end of the dive. But doing a pretty good job. And he has won competitions in the past. He's made of the right stuff.
118.80 on that third round dive. Add that together with the first 2 rounds, he gets a 255.80. Once again, all 4 rounds count. And where we are at in the competition, at the top of the men's running order, 12 men total will dive in this third round. Round 1 for the men and the women took place yesterday. Round 2 have already taken place today for both the men and the women, and the round 3 for the women just wrapped up. We are in men's round 3. Tomorrow, round 4. Live, 15:30, 3:30 p.m. CEST. Red Bull TV, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. It all goes down tomorrow right here, live from Oslo, Norway, as we check out Dave Kulturi from the United States.
Dave doing his last minute or last second visualizations, trying to picture the dive perfectly in the mind. You can see him just blocking through the maneuvers and the skills at the various stages of the dive. Reverse 2 somersaults, 4 twists. I love a bit of twisting action. Some of the divers like rotating, some of them like twisting. David sure is one fine twister.
He told us that mastering gravity for a brief moment is something he's enjoyed since a very young age. Dave Kulturi, the 35-year-old American. Jimeno in the lead with a 255.80. We'll see how that sets up Kulturi coming into men's round 4 tomorrow.
So Kulturi was scheduled to dive at the previous competition in Northern Ireland, but the shoulder was plaguing him. He's actually had 2 shoulder operations. One from another incident outside of cliff diving, and another one when he landed in the water, he left one of his arms out and the arm just got yanked up above his head and ended up blowing out his rotator cuff. And I actually blew out my shoulder just about 2 days before his, and we were both messaging each other from the hospital.
How did you blow your shoulder out?
I fell off the roof. I'll just do it.
I didn't think you'd actually admit it right now.
Gutter cleaning. Went flying off the roof.
I like your accountability, Joey. Because I was going to say it if you didn't. You knew that.
It's definitely not one of my brighter moments. I was pretty damn annoyed myself.
Hey, we're no youngsters anymore. Sometimes we fall off the roof.
I was just trying to side
happens
flip
all the
it.
time.
Yeah, it didn't kind of go to plan, that's all.
Joey's like, you know, I never hurt myself cliff diving except for one big injury. My next big injury was falling off the roof.
Whoops.
Hey, did I tell you about that sculpture right there?
You did. I tried to interrupt again, but you managed to get it across.
Hey, by the way, that evokes the power of ice and water ever present in the high north. That's what that She Lies sculpture
we should have a competition in ice.
I just love that sculpture, so I'm going to keep talking about it.
So we just put it out there and let's do a little bit of ice diving competition.
A ton of people going, hey, thanks, Trace, for that info. All right, here we go. Next diver, Miguel Garcia.
Enjoyed that. It's great. Forward, 3 somersault, 3.5 twists for Miguel Garcia.
Whoa. Twisting it up. Miguel Garcia. How'd you like that dive, Joey?
Loving that running takeoff, really attacked the platform. Tell you what's not going up, it looks like that judge's pontoon's starting to sink a bit. I was just having a look at that before. Anyway, got sidetracked there. Let's get back to Miguel Garcia. But loving his attitude, he's really starting to step up the degree of difficulty. Here's this running takeoff. Why are they doing the running takeoff? That helps them get a little bit more height, a little bit more rotation. If you do it standing, it's just harder to get the dive moving in terms of the rotation. And of course, they're doing a lot of rotations, a lot of twists. Particularly when you're in that twisting position, you're laid out, so it's hard to keep that rotation moving. Smidge short of vertical,
Okay.
Miguel Garcia. He's definitely shown some major improvement this season.
Yeah, he really has.
Vamos, Silvana. Paulito.
Stepfather of Maria Paula Cantero.
Gracias.
So Garcia pulls into second behind Jimeno.
Gracias, hermano.
A little over 10 points behind, 244.10. Jimeno still in the lead with 255.80. This is the men's third round. Reminder, all 3 rounds for the women have concluded. 4th round for the men and women tomorrow. All 4 rounds count. Added together. So everything is important. As the sun sets here in beautiful Oslo, Norway. Stop number 5 of 8. The 2024 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Get ready now for the second part of the men's 3rd round. Getting into the top seed, Nikita will kick it off.
So back 3 somersaults, 3 twists in the pike position. A dive that he doesn't normally do, well, he has done it quite a lot in the past, but he was doing a very difficult back armstand dive, just guiding the safety divers into the right position. It's actually mandatory to actually give the AOK sign to the safety divers before they go to make sure that everyone's alert and aware, they're communicating with one another. So he doesn't want them too close, he doesn't want them too far away. Now he's telling them to splash to help them see the surface.
And then he'll throw that chamois in the water too.
There's the boys. I think they're in the ice bath. Well, they
When we get that jacket wet, Carlos.
Yeah, the recovery bath there. The legs do take a pounding when they hit the water. It's definitely getting a lot darker.
Ankle's pretty beat up there, huh? Okay, so Fedotov managing the light. Heavy landing on that one. It's not what he's going to want. Man, it's getting tough here.
Well, he hasn't done
Night
this,
rolls on.
Yeah, it hasn't done this dive in a while, right? So I think that's kind of maybe one of the factors where it's like, okay. And if you haven't done something for quite a long time, you get a bit rusty, right? You've got to get back in the groove of doing that particular dive again. And once again, I have heard that some of the athletes do find it a little bit difficult adjusting, because as you come out of the dive, right? So you come into the pike position here, and then you're coming out of the dive, then you do the half turn, and then all of a sudden you're facing back towards the dock, and you get all this kind of weird visuals. Yeah, he's just definitely over-rotated. I do think he needed to lift his chest a little earlier to try and make sure he could slice through the water cleaner than what he did there. So that was an over-rotation, but that's the way it goes. He is disappointed.
I don't know how.
75.20 for Fedotov. I mean, not the biggest, not the score he wanted, so 220.40. That's what he'll take into the 4th round, which will be tomorrow. Molly Carlson leads the way on the women's side, coming into round number 4. We'll see who or which man will be leading here shortly. It's a beautiful shot again of downtown Oslo, Norway. A lot of people asking what the platform is made of, Joey. By the way, it was brought in on one piece on a barge. You know, I mean, that thing's massive, but a lot of people, what is it made of?
I mean, some people are saying sort of aluminium poles and so forth, but each platform is custom made, so it depends. You don't need alloy. Is a little bit flexible, right? So it does kind of bounce. So you do need a combination of maybe some alloys because you don't want it to be completely RHS steel. If it's all RHS steel, it'll be incredibly heavy. So there'll be a mixture of some composite materials, and then usually they put some wood boards on top, like plywood, because that's the easiest way to do it, to actually kind of get something nice and flat, and it makes it too heavy if you're using metal. But a lot of engineering has gone into this platform. It wasn't easy.
Jonathan Paredes for his 3rd round dive of 4. So Paredes comes in his signature entry with almost 0 splash. We've even seen better than that before, which is even crazier. Out of Jonathan Paredes.
It's been a really interesting competition, busting out the triple. Like, some divers are either on and smoking it, or they're really missing the diving of some big entries. So it's been I call it a mixed bag of lollies. This competition, lollies meaning candies, if you Americans can't pick that up.
I got the lollies.
You know? There's the 2.5 twist. He has had some issues with this dive in the past. He did get lost on that dive in San Rafael, but he's got the dive back under wraps, and he's got that competition, or got that entry under wraps. Squeaky clean.
Wow, bunch of 9s. That should put Paredes on the top of the leaderboard. They'll throw out an 8.5, a 9. Keep 3 of them. You'll see that down on the left-hand side of the screen. 999. They'll keep those. 126 on his 3rd round. Add that together with the first 2, 274.90. Kaboom for Paredes. Way ahead of the pack for nearly 20 points. So Jonathan Paredes leads the way with 4 divers remaining. By the way, if you want to learn more about this particular platform and how it was built, we're doing a feature on it tomorrow on our live show.
Exactly.
During the 4th round. You can check that out again, round 4, 15:30, 3:30 p.m. CEST. Rebel TV, Facebook, YouTube, Rebel Cliff Diving. Paredes leads, Jimeno in 2nd, Garcia in 3rd. The men's 3rd round. You see who's to come. Heslop, Popovich, Lichtenstein, and Jolotl Martinez, the wildcard diver, leading coming into this men's 3rd round. Here's Heslop.
Big dive, back 4 somersaults, 3 somersaults. Back 4 somersaults, 3 twists in the pike position, sorry. 5.7 DD. Nice DD dive of the round.
Oh, that's it right there. That's gonna get a huge score. His girlfriend Molly Carlson, loving it.
Oh, yeah, I needed that one, Aiden Heslop said. Yes, boy,
yes,
you did. He was sliding back there a little bit with his previous, didn't have any major mistakes in the previous dives, but just a little bit of a hiccup in round 2. But with that high degree of difficulty and great execution, I mean, such a busy dive. I was looking at it thinking, man, is he going to be able to kind of sneak this dive in? He does such a great job at manipulating the dive in the air. Like, sometimes he's a little slower on takeoff, sometimes he's a little faster. There's that 2.5 twist. Getting into that pike, a little bit bent in the legs there. And he's holding on. Let's look where he comes out. Re-pikes nice and deep and lifts his chest. But that is a busy, busy, busy dive. He has to work so hard from the start to finish to get the dive done. Action-packed dive, and that's what he needed to put some pressure on James Lichtenstein and Constantin Popovich.
No question, and trying to pad his lead ahead of Paredes, which he does by 20 points. So 294.15 puts Heslop on top, ahead of Paredes. Jimeno still in third with a 255. Oof.
Yeah, it's shaping up now. Next up, Constantin Popovic. Gotta love that. 2 heavyweights.
I love his visualization. It's so intense with Popovic. It kind of looks like we were just watching breakdancing.
It's breaking, thank you very much. You're not allowed to say breakdancing.
Breaking.
Breaking. Breaking.
It kind of looks like what he's doing. Hey, explain that chamois, because people always ask me about it. Please.
Well, it's just if you're a bit annoyed at the judges, you got something to throw at them.
Chamois.
You know, that's what it's used for. No. So chamois is used to dry off your legs to make sure you don't slip out of the dive. And all of us divers at some point, you know, if you've been diving on 10-meter or 3-meter springboards.
See?
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, back to the chamois. Trying to drive the legs so they don't slip out in the air. You know, okay. Bit of attention deficit disorder between the both of us here. Can't quite stick to one topic. Got the left knee bandage. That was from the knee injury, the hyperextension in Boston. I'm not sure what he's waiting for here. Okay, giving the thumbs up to the judges to make sure they're ready to watch the dive. A little bit of a throw down of the chamois. It's actually been a bit of a, and I'm not joking about that, sometimes chamois do get flung off in the wind and collect a few people in the head from time to time. It's not fun.
Constantin Popovic, James Lichtenstein next. Jolotl Martinez will be last in men's round 3, round 4 tomorrow.
Exact same dive as Aiden Heslop, back 4 somersaults, 3 twist pike. Tit for tat. Let's see how Constantin can perform this dive. Needs 8.5 from the judges if he wants to move ahead of Aiden Heslop. Pressure's on.
This is just, look at Aiden. Aiden's like, oh no, uh-oh. But I mean, same with Johnny. Johnny's like, I don't know. Like, they're all looking at it now. Now it's time. Now it's go time, right, Joey? It's strategizing going into round 4, trying to get yourself up on points to leave no spaces and leave no doors open for anybody else.
Now, he did land short of vertical. Couldn't quite tell how short from the side, but it did also look like it was quite close to the platform. So he took off. Yeah, he's hipped it in.
Oof.
He looks very close to the platform.
Gee.
I did notice that from the front, and that is an issue. And if you are too close to the platform, that actually can cause some deductions and very short of vertical. And that bad takeoff, when he actually put his hips forward, it does change the technique of the dive and hindered his capacity to actually complete the entry. Let's have a look at it. So the hips come forward here. See that? Hips coming forward. Yeah, the elbow pretty close to the platform there.
So if you're new to this, Joey, you're asking the question: has anybody ever hit it?
Steve Lebeau, La Rochelle in France, doing a similar dive, and he actually did strike his head, sort of rolled off. Thankfully, he was all right.
Yeah, he was all right.
But that is very disappointing for Constantin Popovic.
You caught it, Joey, and the judges agree with you on that one. So Popovic with a 251.55 after the 3rd round will put him into 4th place. So it's going to be a pretty intense 4th round tomorrow. Yeah. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
As Garcia warming up there, but Heslop leads, Paredes in 2nd, Jimeno in 3rd. 2 divers remaining in the men's round 3. We'll start with USA's James Lichtenstein. Mr. Consistent this season. Currently the World Series leader. His heart rate, 155. That is a real-time heart rate. You see on his left arm, that bandage, that's where we're getting that data from.
So big dive here, back arm stand, 4.5 somersaults tuck. This is very impressive. And look at that cruise ship in the background. Let's just try and get a sense of how high the cruise ship is. I mean, they're generally a little bit more than 30 meters or so. A great vantage point looking from over on the cruise ship. See James as well, just doing that little count of the somersaults.
Heart rate going up, but slowly.
That's a massive heart rate though, 156.
Going down now.
That's way up there. But once again, resting heart rate like 55, 60 beats per minute. That's normal for most people.
Oof.
Steady as she goes.
James Lichtenstein continues to impress. Wow.
Woo, he says.
James is so very unassuming character. Very Gary Hunt-like. Can never really tell what's going through their mind.
He's very calculated. He analyzes everything a lot, and spent quite a bit of time with him in Park City, Utah, at the training facility there, and he was always trying to analyze, where's the perfect place to come out. And he's always looking at videos and trying to figure out how to get the dive even better than it was the last time he performed it, counting the somersaults as he goes by. Comes from an elite trampolining background as well as diving, puts the two together and makes him into one fine cliff diving athlete, and he's been so consistent across all of these competitions, and great scores for James Lichtenstein.
Great scores, Joey, you're right. Bunch of 8s in there. Drop one of the 8.5s, and he'll drop a 7.5. Keep 3 straight 8s. 129 for James. Not enough to overtake Heslop here in the 3rd round, but good enough to put him in an excellent position going into round 4. Lichtenstein in 2nd with a 283.20. Paredes in 3rd, leading into the final round. David O.C., our reporter, is down by the water, has a little bit closer view. He's just telling me, Joey, that it's noticeably darker, there down by the water, and the temp has also dropped for these guys. And look at Jolotl Martinez.
Estamos bailando.
Right. What's up?
Estamos bailando. Órale.
He's like, what? I'm going to use this catwalk. I have 98 feet.
To get my moves.
30 meters to do the moonwalk.
He does love rapping, so he's a big music fan. Pretty good little rapper, pretty good dancer. Definitely got some salsa moves. And speaking of moves, we've got some big moves here. Back arm stand, 3.5 somersaults, 2 twists to the pike position. New dive he just pulled off at the previous stop in Northern Ireland.
Final diver, men's round 3. Jolotl Martinez, 21 years old. New to the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series in 2021. Idolized all of the guys out here, and now he is competing right up against the big names. Putting one down in the 3rd round. We'll see where it puts him in scores. Probably not going to overtake Heslop, Joey.
No.
Nevertheless, solid for the youngster.
No, very impressed with the diving by Jolotl Martinez. I've known him since he was a young boy, spent a lot of time in Mexico, and such a great kid, great personality, very kind, a lot of fun to be around, and a lot of fun to watch when he's doing his cliff diving maneuvers. And once again, seeing the new guard, the new generation, making their way up the ranks and gaining this valuable experience in the cliff diving scene is just awesome.
All 7s. Who, as predicted, not going to get there in the top spot, much less the top 3 going into the 4th and final round. All 4 rounds count, so it's not over. So Martinez with a 266.60. will settle for fourth after the third round. That's what he will carry into the fourth. His mentor, Johnny Paredes, sitting in third right now.
It's going to be an interesting competition tomorrow, let me tell you.
It's going to be awesome. So Heslop will take his 294.15 as a score into the fourth round. Liechtenstein, Mr. Consistent, hanging in there, 283.20. Followed by Paredes, Martinez, Hamedo, and Popovic. It's going to be a battle tomorrow on the men's side and the women. There you go, 7 through 12 for the men. And you can catch it once again. The final round, 15:30, 3:30 p.m. CEST, live on Red Bull TV, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all kinds of stuff. USA on ESPN Plus at 1:30 p.m. Jonathan Paredes with an impressive 3 rounds so far, and he's standing by with David O.C. Waterside. Dave.
Yeah, Johnny, so we're down here now. It certainly feels a little bit colder, a little bit darker. How was it in that third round?
Yeah, you know, I was scared as usual. That's my back twist, everybody knows. I feel more scared than usual on this dive. But, you know, in the end, the atmosphere here in Oslo is amazing. I mean, look at the people here around. And yeah, when I got 9s after my dive, it's just like the best feeling ever.
I bet, and I can imagine that gives you a little bit of confidence going into the fourth round. What can we expect tomorrow?
Of course, you know, I mean, comparing a little bit of what happened in Northern Ireland, you know, I missed this dive pretty bad. I was leading the competition, but of course, having 9s on this one, especially on this one, it gives me more confidence for the one tomorrow, and hopefully reach the podium again.
All right, amazing. Well, good luck tomorrow, Johnny, and
Thanks, Dave.
we look forward to it.
Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
All right, great job, Dave. Thank you very much. Great to hear from Johnny Paredes, who sits number 3 coming into the fourth and final round, Joey. So the winners of the last stop, of course, Rhiannan Iflin and Aiden Heslop, coming into that fourth round with the highest scores, target on their backs.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a really exciting competition tomorrow. And on the men's front, I think it's just going to be incredible. I think it's going to be a bit of a showdown between Heslop and Liechtenstein, no doubt. But really proud of watching all the athletes here today. They did such a fine job managing the conditions.
We'll see you tomorrow, folks, at 15:30, 3:30 p.m. CEST on Red Bull TV, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all the good stuff. Trace Worthington, Joey Zuber, David O.C. on site saying thanks a lot. We'll see you guys tomorrow for the fourth and final round. Goodbye from Oslo.